I really miss the old music. It was definitely
I
a lot
didn't misclick
stronger
there.
intro.
I know. You know, I missed the misclick there, and we got a sneak behind the scenes of us behind there going. Arr. Anyway,
I was a little surprised. I thought there'd be one more 30-second segment, but I was probably prepared. I already had Dash up, so
right, we're gonna dive straight into this because we have limited time today.
right.
But let's just dive straight into it. Randall,
We can chit but not chat. There we go. Hey, so be nice, be respectful when you're acting with other human beings there on the live chat. So please, as far as we know, most of them are human beings. There may be some bots. We're not sure these days. Don't post anything if it's adult or rude or offensive. Don't advertise or promote anything if your face is not on the screen. You do not get to pitch your story. Only the people with faces on screens can do that. Don't spam. Don't post the same thing over and over again. That's not only annoying. We ignore questions that are repeated. We take them out of the queue and put them later in the queue. So you just lost your place. No harassment tolerated at all. We do have ban hammers. We do use them occasionally. Luckily, very occasionally. It's really like rather rare here. But do have a good time because we have a great time sharing our knowledge with you. And we expect you to at least try to enjoy it. Force yourself to enjoy it. Yeah, exactly.
I will also mention that we don't see if you post a message with a link, we do not get the entire message. The entire message is filtered out. We don't accept links in chat.
Right.
However, you can, if you want to, go to gist.new and you can post. That'll take you to GitHub Gist page. You can post some code or whatever else, anything longer than you can explain in a message.
Yeah.
Name the file something.dart so you get the syntax highlighting. From the URL, after you hit the new Gist button, in the URL you get a hash. That's a set of hexadecimal numbers. Pop that in the chat, and we can then look that Gist up, and we can bring it up on the show or talk about it or discuss it.
And based on historical shows, if you ask a question that needs 2 or 3 or 4 chat messages, it's probably too long to deal with in this show. Pretty certain. So a gist plus a single chat is not bad, but 3 messages with /4/5. Don't do that.
Part 1, part 2, part 3, part 5, part 10.
People have tried that here, but we've had pretty much once every show somebody's tried to do a 3-parter, and no, they just never go over well because we have to keep bouncing back and forth between the parts of the questions and stuff. So anyway,
and we'll do some brief introductions and we'll get to it. So my name's Simon Lightfoot, Flutter community leader, CTO at Dev Angels London. You can follow me on Twitter, X, at Dev Angels London, other social medias. Scott's not here today, but we have a Randall.
I'm Randall Schwartz. I'm a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert, which means I spend a lot of my time answering people's questions all around the world, all 24/7 time zones, it seems. I'm up sometimes 3 in the morning answering questions on Slack because I saw something there. But I'm also, for this show, I am the question magician, which means that I am watching the questions, but watching the chat, for questions. Questions will be labeled by you by putting Q: in front of them. That way it stands out and makes sure that I see those. I occasionally see ones that don't have Q: but I'd rather have you flag them. That way I'm sure to notice them as they go by. And I will also occasionally help provide answers in here, but Simon does most of the heavy lifting for this show.
We also have a Danielle.
Hey, everybody. I'm Danielle Cox. I am the Flutter tech lead for a company called Ardley. So as always, a shout out to Ardley saying thank you for letting me be here. And also, but more importantly, I'm one of the organizers for the Flutteristas. And that's, we're a group of women and non-binary folk who share a passion for Flutter. So if that, if that resonates with you and you want to help join up with us, we can always do that. Simon's usually pretty quick with the flutteristas.org. But this time I didn't do it right. But that's me.
I've lost it. It's all gone.
Oh no.
I've lost it. Oh, there we go.
There we go. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Cool.
So we've also got Steph. Steph, welcome to the stage.
Hi, I'm Steph. And I, too, am one of the co-managers of the Flutteristas with Danielle and several other people. And we would love to have you join. Simon, you can pop it back up since I'm here. And I'm excited to be here for today's topic. And currently, I'll be here for the next few weeks. So we'll see how it goes.
And not to mention, Andrew, welcome to the stage.
Yay.
Hello.
Our special guest for today.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm Andrew from the Dart and Flutter Developer Relations team, and I'm happy to be here.
So we've been talking about this, and obviously there's been a big push around AI in general at the moment, and there's lots of information going around. We got together and thought, you know what, we should get in on this AI stuff as well. Mind you, I think Randall's already ahead of the curve on that one. So
as is Ezra.
Yeah. Yes. So I think there's a question. There's kind of questions around, I think, from the community around AI, what it is not. So I think some of us can help answer some of those questions. So today, this hump day, we're going to leave the beginning of it as being AI related and AI materials, and then the latter half is going to be general Q&A. So if you have any questions around AI, have you tried it out? Are you going to try it out? That's the topic of today.
I have one for him.
Go for it.
Did you say go for it or wait?
Yes, go for it.
Okay.
Fire away.
So
Let's
for
go
those
into
who
it.
didn't see it last week, the Hump Day Q&A, Andrew was with Craig, and they were talking about agentic apps. And for people who weren't able to see it, can you explain a little bit about what the Flutter team is doing with agentic apps? What is it? And I know that you've got all the details you guys are going to be covering, and I don't want to have spoilers for Craig's show or anything like that. But if you could share that with people, that would be awesome.
I mean, we'd have to figure out what we were doing before you could have spoilers. No, I think the big thing that we're announcing today, or we already announced it, but the thing that starts today is building agentic apps, which is a campaign what we're doing in partnership with Firebase and Angular to try and get more folks to just get their hands dirty with this kind of stuff and get comfortable with it, and see where it can and can't solve problems for their users, and to become familiar with terms like agent and agentic, which by the time you get comfortable with the definition, somebody will come along and change it. You know, it seems like these things are changing. An agent, for example. I'm sorry?
Would you be willing to define them real quick?
Sure, I give you my definition. Absolutely. Agent, right now, the best definition I've seen is an agent is the combination of some kind of software reasoning capability. Typically these days it's an LLM like Gemini, combined with a goal and then the tools that it needs to accomplish the goal. So, last year we had an app called the Compass app that was a demo that some folks in the team worked on, and that would generate travel itinerary for you based on some inputs that you gave it. It would run off and create an itinerary, and it could do things like use APIs to pull data down about places and stuff like that. And so the goal there, was an LLM running the show. The goal was create a travel itinerary that a user will click yes to. That's the goal. And it works in partnership with the user because the user can provide input. And it has tools where it can call out to learn about the outside world. There's a lot of stuff that wasn't trained into that model in the first place. They all have like a knowledge cutoff date. But if you give an LLM the ability to say, hey, if you don't know what the places are and whatever place the user wants to go, use this API. And here's a description of it and how you can use it. And then the model can use function calling to call out and get more information.
I have a question.
That's a very simple agent.
You've used an acronym, so there may be people out there who are never used any kind of AI, don't know any of the terminology. Could you explain LLM, please?
Sure. LLM stands for Large Language Model. It is the hot acronym of the moment. And there are a bunch of large language models, some open source, some open weight, and some that live in the cloud and you access that way. Gemini is one of those. These are basically giant statistical databases of human language. And so if you take all the human language you can get your hands on and do a bunch of machine learning and statistical analysis on it, you end up with a model that can predict, given this text, what's the next word that would come after this? And as simple as that is, it is underpinning all the stuff that we're seeing kind of right now in terms of LLMs. that basic
Thank you.
premise. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can find like a nice graphic for this, but I can't find one. But yeah, it's kind of interesting how the LLM model is there's many billions of parameters attached to each. Essentially, it's this notion of it's predicting the next word or the word that comes after the next one based on context of previously seen words. So although it seems like it's actually logically answering your question, it doesn't exactly do that. But then you have model. Hey, man, there's a name for it. Multimodal, multi. What's it? Multimodal, that one. Where basically you can then take it through a series of steps as well. So that's basically just breaking the problem down into a series of steps that allows you to effectively get a better answer than it would do out of just one set of context.
Yeah. It's surprising. It's surprising what you can build on just that simple text predictor, because every LLM you've ever used is, in a sense, a glorified random number generator. You know, that's all it is. It's a really fancy random number generator. But it's, they have techniques like chain of thought and some other things where like a model can generate text, then use the text it's generated to go off and do like second level things in pieces and stuff like that. If you saw the recent launch of Firebase Studio, for example, the Agentic prototyping part of it, there's a flow in there where you can ask it to build an app to do a certain thing, and the first thing it does is come back with a blueprint and says, okay, based on what you said, this is what I imagine the app will look like. What do you think? And then if you approve that, then it goes off to generate code. And so I think some of the most interesting bits right now are just like the computer science we've all been doing is taking a complex thing and breaking into little small things that a computer can handle. That still plays out with these agents. It's like, can you take a big complex task and break it into little ones, and then you have a plan and you can go off and do each little task in a manageable way.
I mean, it gets even more. I mean, we mentioned several acronyms here, but RAG has been around. That's retrieval augmented generation, which is in this kind of notion that you can like have a AI reach out and get context to information. But really, the current essentially replacement for that is MCP, which has become very popular recently, which is just a standard protocol to rally around so that everyone's designing their code and working the same way, which is brilliant because that's always something that everyone needs. But yeah, I mean, like just the idea that you can say what's on YouTube and it understands YouTube is, and this is YouTube MCP, and then it can then call like the homepage of YouTube or something, right? Like these are kind of things that you can build with MCP where you're linking dynamic information into the context that's being provided by the to the LLM, basically.
What I really find fascinating about the whole idea of LLMs and functions is that you describe the API in English, like you describe the API as always a JSON body or something. But you tell it that the interface for this range of questions, which again can be vague, you can come here and tell me X, Y, and Z, and I will tell you W as a result. And it's like, and you say that in English. It's just weird.
Oh, you mentioned that thing that you said you did the other day, which was give me the good, the bad, and the ugly for this thing. And it's like he understands the phrasing and actually goes, here's the good bits about this, here's the worst things, and here's the really bad things, or whatever,
Here's things that must be fixed now. Yeah, good, bad, and ugly is a great keyword if you want to do reviews of things. It pulls out exactly the right items for you.
That's really interesting. One of the things our tech writers have begun doing is asking Gemini about what's in their own documentation to identify gaps in what's in there that you might, as a human reader, because you've seen it 10 times, miss. And ask it to summarize a doc and see if you've gotten everything in there and stuff like that. The good, the bad, and the ugly, though, is a prompt that I'm going to go try.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's great. It's so simple because it's easy to remember, too. Yeah.
Did you all see the claim that please and thank you is costing millions of dollars?
Yeah. That's crazy.
So, so manners cost nothing is a lie, I guess.
It is now.
Yes, right. We'll have to charge extra for those. We have a couple questions if you want to start taking questions.
I mean, go on.
Go ahead. I have some more questions, but that's totally fine. you can ask.
Yeah,
Why
we
don't we
can
cover
jump to any questions from the audience. Let's.
Yep.
We've got limited time
start
here.
with those. Let's start with those. So I think I already answered this in the chat, but yes, there is a Dart MCP package. In fact, there's actually 2 or 3 of them, but the one that I posted as right after this message in the chat is by a fellow GDE. So he's pretty sharp on getting stuff in Dart and Flutter. Jin Lee, he's a sharp dude. And what Dart MCP allows you to do is you write an MCP server. And what that means is that you can tell your LLM, if you have questions about X, Y, and Z, come here. And then it can run Dart code in response to that. And of course, Dart code can do anything in the world, right? It's general purpose language. So, and it can operate in either standard in mode, which means that it's sitting on the same machine being fired up as needed as somebody makes requests related to that. Or it can operate in SSE mode, which means you can put it on a TCP port and actually have it as a remote server for people. So yes, we are already in the MCP world with Dart.
So I will say that there's 2 packages. There's a slightly confusing. MCP Dart is written by GDE in the community.
Yep.
And there is a Dart MCP package.
Yeah.
Naming,
right.
yes. And that is by the Dart team themselves on support. So
sorry, I didn't notice that one. Yeah.
So just to say that there is 2, and make it mind which one you want to use. There's merit in both. So
Sure.
Randall, did you say that? Sorry, Simon. Randall, did you say the MCP Dart one? Jin Lee did.
Yes,
Or did I
that's this one. That's the one that was on the list. Yes.
As a hint, Jen will be joining us for a one of our Humpday Q&As coming up in the next few weeks.
Cool.
So keep an eye on the channel.
Yeah, he's going to walk us through his package, this one here, about how
Mm-hmm.
to use it and various things around it and how it's made and stuff like that. So yeah,
awesome. All right. Oops, sorry, I pushed that on you there. Let's look at the other question here because it's going to be a little more complicated. Is there any way to gauge the amount of energy consumed by an app with AI? Oh, you're trying to buy carbon offsets for your AI?
I mean, to be clear about this, right? Like,
Michael,
it depends on where you're running the AI.
Yes.
Right? And also what hardware is available on the device, right? So this is the same as, let's say, give an example, Michael. Let's say you're doing video processing, right? You're taking a video and you're desaturating it. And that's quite a heavy task, right? Now, if you did that on your CPU on your phone would warm up, it would use a lot of battery, and it'd be very inefficient. However, your phone has codecs, chips inside your phone, DSP chips inside your phone that do these effects as part of the GPU processing and everything else that actually will process these in hardware. There's a way more efficient. They're designed for that one purpose, and therefore the energy consumption is a lot lower, right? And then equally, you can say, well, if I now send off the data to a backend server and I have it munch them because it's in an environment where it's processing lots all at once, the idea of batch, right? And like it's almost the idea of like buying things in bulk, if you will, because you can fire up to the backend server. Maybe that's more efficient because there's more efficiencies in how they provide their electricity and cooling and everything else in the data centers. So, gauge the amount of energy. I don't think you could accurately do that with any sort of fine thing. However, if you can calculate how much it costs your app for a unit of work to actually, in energy, as it were, for your app on like the back end, then you could say, okay, this query cost me 10 energy or whatever sort of like linkage you want to put against that. And you could gauge it if you want to. I think you'd probably more gauge it about the cost it's costing you from the models running on the back end. So if certain sorry, I'm just jumping in on this, Andrew, please tell me if you want to add anything. But if let's say your model let's say your context is really large or you're doing a really heavy piece of work, the AI takes a lot longer, it costs you more money, therefore it is a higher cost to you, right? A higher energy cost, as it were. So there you go. That's mine.
Yeah, I could add a little, maybe one or two more things. I think you're dead right, Simon. The cost and energy consumption are probably going to scale together, right? Like those are probably proportional, and that's probably a good way to do it. I think there's an interesting move that people are now talking about with hybrid AI, where they're trying to do things like have a router that determines whether to execute a task on a local model versus a model in the cloud. Like, do you really need the big giant model for this, or can you do it with something simpler for simple tasks? And that's a way not only to conserve costs, but to conserve energy as well, if you could do something with just a small model on device. The other is most of the companies putting out AI as a service right now have stated carbon policies. Like if you were to go do a search for this, you could find Google has a stated goal, I think it's 2030, of being carbon neutral across their data centers. I have no knowledge of how that's going to be pulled off, not on that team, but it is publicly stated, so I'm repeating it.
Just imagine this deadline is like going to go forward, and there's a dip at the moment from all the AI spin up that's happening around the world.
Yep. Yeah, it's like that thing on The Simpsons where like Homer plugs in something and suddenly the town goes dark and they have to turn on the second nuclear reactor. That kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's great that you're thinking about these things. It absolutely matters. It's, these things generate a lot of heat. They take a lot of electricity. Make that part of your pricing considerations and your, vote with your dollars for the people who are doing it right.
So what about privacy and
what about
ethics and privacy and responsible design? Do you have some recommendations on those?
I mean, it's a huge topic, I think.
Yeah, just a cursor, just a little bit.
What do you think of human existence? No, I think all the things Simon's gearing up to say something. Let me jam in what my thoughts on this. I think all the things that you've cared about before in regard to privacy still apply. If you're interacting with Gemini through Vertex AI, I would think of it like you would any third-party API that you've built into your product. I would look at their terms of service. I would look at their privacy policies. I'd make sure to clearly communicate everything to your users and stuff like that. I would be looking, if you're using one of these, a model as a service, are they going to train on the data that you're sending them? You should absolutely know the answer to that question, right? Things like that. I think all of the basics are still the things to be thinking about. So.
I mean, we said this before in a previous show, but just because you're typing and giving information to an AI model doesn't mean it's learning from that model, right? So you can have there's some of these services where you can pay extra for them not to learn from the text that you're giving it, as it were. It's keep it private kind of deal. There's some various other options. So always read what's out there and how they use the data that you supply to them. That's if you're using a cloud provider. Obviously, if you're using it locally, then it's all under your purview. So you don't send it off device, then it's all private, right? So, just give it some thought about like what you're putting where. Obviously, I mean privacy. There was another point here, and it just dropped out of my head.
We have another AI question if you want to take it. Yes?
Yeah, sure. It'll come back to me in a minute, and I'm like, aha.
And this is interesting because this also demonstrates a little maybe misunderstanding, but what are the benefits of running AI functions locally versus using the cloud, which is more powerful? Speed, yes.
I mean, yeah, it's a time factor, right? Actually, this is where it was. Just remembered. So if you run Gemini models locally, for example, those models are trained. There's another point here. So this was ethics, on the ethical front, right? You can ask a lot of these models. You can even say, if you were an AI and you had to have any regard for ethics, what would you do in this situation? And you probably get something weird come out, right? But they are specifically set up in such a way that they will not give you answers on certain things, right? That is how they've been trained. And the Gemini model is a good example of that. I think if I remember right, it had there's a bunch of restrictions in the way that it gives you certain answers locally. And this is good. This is the whole idea around this is like to keep things in check. But that doesn't mean that there aren't models out there that you can load up that are not good, right? So keep that in mind. That keep the ethical front in play in terms of what you can and can't, what you should and shouldn't do with these things, or what you should and shouldn't let them do. Should I say? There's another notion here, which is so not just the result essentially of what you're getting out of these things, but also what you're putting in. As we said, it's retraining them, right? So if this data has been used to train it again, then it's not helping anyone by put crap in, get crap out, basically. Sorry, I can't think of a better phrasing for it.
We have a Scott in the audience.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a wild Scott.
Yes to go.
We miss you right now.
Getting back to this question, so there's local models that are like smaller number of parameters, so like 100k parameters, 300k parameters, things that can actually be loaded on a mobile GPU, can be used in mobile environments or lower end devices. But what you get with less parameters is less better. That's not the word.
Less intelligence.
Less intelligent. I mean, I'm trying to think less better predictions, but that's not the phrasing. That's not the right phrase. But yeah, your predictions aren't going to be as good because there's not as many parameters for it to start its answers on, right? So, I mean, the difference between say 300,000 to 13 billion, 40 billion, it's huge. So yes. And the only reason they're doing it though is because of speed, right? You're not going to get this. You try. First of all, I won't go into this. You could effectively use a 7 billion parameter model on your mobile by paging in and out the 7 billion parameters to do the calculation. It would be hella slow, and it would be hella battery intensive, and it would be pointless because people would have given up by the time they get their answer. So this is kind of where the trade-off is, right? Like what you do locally versus what you do on the cloud.
But that's the trade-off for anything when you're processing something.
Sure.
Whether you want to do it locally or off device is, probably in general, if your device can handle it without issue, you should do it locally. But after that, it's like, for sure.
It's an interesting one though, right? Because the models themselves, the problem that you get with the larger models is just the pure amount of data in the model that has to be loaded to perform the calculations, right? There's just no mobile device out there that can load the larger models in memory all at once to just do GPU access on it, right? It has to be paged in and out. So it's one of those things that you can say that for video and everything else, that all works on mobile. You can do all that stuff. This is a very unique situation where it's not very often you get, I need to load 40 gigs worth of data or whatever it is, into memory. That's just not possible unless you've got a high-end system, right? Or a high-end graphics card if you want the memory sitting next to the graphics card, which would be ideal for performance. So this is why you have the cloud stuff, right? Because it just doesn't make, and then effectively it's timeshare, right? On a cloud system, right? You get to use it for your transaction, and then the next person gets to use it for their transaction, and so on, right? So it makes sense in that sense when you want to use the large models, then you're using it on the cloud.
Yeah. I mean, another benefit is just there's even less chance for there to be differences in how stuff's happening. Because once again, you're running it in one place. Now you're effectively making API calls. So, that's well understood and pretty consistent across any platform you might want to run it on. So, I mean, that's actually, you're eliminating how the models might run differently on different machines too at that point. So if you want consistency from that standpoint, that could be another benefit, I would think.
I want to address the question from a couple of aspects there. One is you could be talking about running the LLM locally versus in the cloud, but you also then in each case there have the opportunity to have function callouts being run locally or via various services and stuff. So it could be that I'm running, Gemini 2.5 Pro in the cloud, and I tell it that if he calls this function and that function, it'll act on my mobile device different ways. So if AI functions there is sort of ambiguous, and I wanted to address both things of that.
I will also say that before we got some of the MCP stuff and RAG, like it was still possible to do stuff with these models and get it to perform actions. And the way you do that is you ask it to format its output a certain way that you can then machine interpret it, right?
Yeah.
So you give an example of what you want to see, and it will show, and it still works. It doesn't matter that you're using a model that supports these other things. You can still do that. It also works locally on device. So if you say, I have, I don't know, let's say, I think we mentioned this before on the show, but someone said, can I make it like a help bot or an onboarding bot for my app? So that, they start their app up and they say, how do I, it pops up, learn more about the app and learn more. So you could actually apply the on-device bot, one of these mini models with, here's all this context about how to use my app and product. And then, we'll get back to that in a second. Here's all this like context about how my app is working on my device, and then when they ask a question, it's got that context to know how to answer them, because it's like a think of it more like a knowledge base, right? When there's you've got that in context you can give it, and then you can also say, if you want to give the user directions about how to get to stuff, here is the site map, as it were, and then here's how you need to format it back to me so I can tell the user. And it'll format it back to you. You can see that, there's a bit of JSON here, or you can grep it out or whatever, and replace that with a widget that they can press on, and it takes them to a certain part of the app. You can do all that right now, like on device, without any special sort of stuff, right?
This is a follow-up question, and he says, he meant the LLM running locally. So there we go.
Right, which is what we were talking about. I mean, it's like, and you can go get gemma.cpp, for example, and the Gemma model, and you could just run that with FFI with on the local device.
And then of course,
depending on the model, it wouldn't be most performant, but you can do it.
And then of course another.
Sorry, Jay. I was just going to point out that. Sorry, I was just going to point out that Chin Lee has a package for Gemma, Flutter_Gemma. I think for anybody who's interested in trying that out. I know some folks on the AI DevRel team that have done things with it here at Google, so it's a pretty legit package. Sorry, Danielle, I jumped in front of you. Go ahead.
No, of course, that's cool. No, anytime you want to talk, you're more important than I am. Not a problem. Let's get that going. No, I was going to say there's other obvious things that like factor everything else anyway, which would be like, for example, let's say I had something AI dealing with maybe hiking, right? Well, a lot of times when I'm hiking, I might be out of range, and so at that point, it's local or not, So I would say things like that would matter too. Could potentially be benefits.
And I've got another. Go ahead.
I was going to say network connectivity is a big part of this, right? Yeah. Like it's great to have all these things, but the question is, should it be your main user interaction, or should there be an alternative, right? Because if it's the only way to do anything in your product, well, then and you have to have an internet connection. Well, you've just done what all the modern games do, and you need an internet connection to do anything, right? So, I mean, like, make sure that's just offline behavior in apps that you should just be paying attention to anyway.
Yep. And this question is probably more directed at Andrew, although he may not be able to answer it because he can't talk about things happening in the future. But are we going to see more Agentic apps videos from the Flutter team and any upcoming packages related to Agentic apps?
So the answer to the first question is yes, definitely. The answer to the second question is almost certainly yes. You saw earlier that there's a Dart MCP package that some folks are working on. And so there will definitely be more work in this space. We're working with some of our partners we're building connections with some of our partners in other parts of Google that are working on these things so that we can kind of get ahead of the game now and have packages that are arriving earlier and things like that, which is something I'm very excited about. Every time somebody out there builds a neat thing with Flutter and AI, folks see it, and it increases the level of support because more people know, I could make a thing with the Flutter team, and folks are really going to use it. So these things that you're doing, they matter to us as well as to the community at large. On the first one, we have our campaign, which is going fully live today. So there's the URL. So if you're interested in this, I don't think the website is updated yet. It will be updated today. We're going to have 4 new sort of starter kits that are dropping that people can take and clone and then just hack on. So you get the sort of the structure of an agent, and then you can give it maybe a different goal, a different set of tools, but you've got kind of the widgets there and the bones of it already. So we'll have those for Flutter and Angular and for Firebase, for GenKit and for Vertex AI and Firebase. So those are some new things that are dropping today. We'll also be continuing to live stream. I'll be on Observable Flutter again tomorrow. Craig's got a bunch of stuff planned. So if you want to see me personally fumble around with AI and building agents, you can totally do that. And I think, software engineering is still software engineering, but I think this new wave of tools, it's not going to go away. We're gonna instead find out where it's useful and where it's not, and we're going to start putting it to work in more and more places. So I think over the next several years, you'll see us, some of the things we're trying right now, we'll figure out aren't useful, and those will fall away. But in general, you'll be seeing a lot more agentic stuff from us and from everybody. It's an exciting time.
I'm a little concerned by something I saw a few days ago, that the official Gemini SDK for Dart and Flutter has been deprecated in favor of the Vertex AI flavor instead. And I'm wondering, Dart and Flutter, or Dart disappeared from AI Studio and a bunch of other places. Is there a move to sort of make Dart sort of a third-rate rank candidate for AI?
No, not that I know of. I think what you're seeing is just we're all figuring it out, and so things are being spun up and tried out, and then they kind of change a little bit. I'm actually talking with somebody about changing the language on that generative AI SDK package, because it does sound like it was just turned down, when really it was, we had two and we should really only have one. So let's direct people to the one. Where you might have used the generative AI SDK package before, I would point people toward Vertex AI and Firebase. It's a very similar interface, but you're then connected to things like auth and stuff like that by default. Whereas with the generative AI SDK, you were baking an API key into your app.
Yeah, but Vertex also costs money out of the box. There's no free tier there.
That's true.
So,
And that's also a discussion we're having, right? How do we, if we're telling folks, hey, you should try building with this stuff, how can we make it as easy as possible? And cost is part of that, especially in certain parts of the world, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have anything on that I can say right now, but it's something that we talk about a lot internally, and we're pushing on things. And I'm hoping that yeah.
As a citizen, I just want to let you know that I'm paying attention.
No, it is absolutely a concern. I think one of the first things that a lot of folks think about when it comes to this stuff is like, cool, but how do I pay for it?
Yeah. Right?
I could go right now and write an amazing AI thing and just go broke doing it by giving away access to a model that costs me money. We could all probably go do that and play our own version of Brewster's Millions.
I was just a thought when you said that, it just made me think that I wonder if there's a room, and this is something for you to take back, it's literally a thought I just had, which was, I wonder if there's room for a Google scheme like Google Startup / Campus, things like that, where it's more about you've got an AI concept, you've taken it to the point that it now needs to get traction. Mm-hmm. Can we take that to Google Camp? I can't remember what I know there's a department for it, like the incubator kind of side of Google, and actually, get someone there to evaluate it and maybe take it on and give them like cloud credits to spin up their service and take it off ground, get launched basically. So
I think there's
I know those exist for startups, but I'm just thinking that maybe there's a synergy here, right, from an AI perspective as well.
I would be surprised if the startup accelerators and some of those things that Google already runs aren't heavily AI focused right now already, and can kind of function that way. Like Y Combinator now, if you look at the companies they're taking, they all have AI in the name or in the first 6 words of their pitch, right? And there's there's a thing that Google's doing that's they have there's like the Google org and the sort of that arm of Google, and they're having an accelerator themselves in the google.org area, where they're like, if you're doing social good, public good with AI, come talk to us and we'll help you do more of it. We'll give you credits and things like that. So there are probably, all of those I think are starting to become more AI influenced because that's what everybody thinks the next generation of apps is going to be. And there may well be special accelerators that I just don't happen to know off the top of my head that are doing similar stuff.
Is that the URL you put in the chat?
Yeah, that's a public URL that I've found on my personal account. So if you want to share it, go for it. It's also, you could find it just by doing Google Accelerator AI. It was literally the first thing that came up. So, yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All
so
right,
I think,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think there's a lot of frustrating stuff going on with AI right now. Like you said, with the SDK being turned down, it's not completely clear. Where do you go from here? And some of those things get messy. But I think one of the things that makes me happy about what's going on right now is it reminds me of Flutter back in 2018, when state management wasn't a solved problem yet, the way it kind of is now. Do you remember that? And Brian Egan had that great talk about lifting up state at DartConf, and he was doing the Flutter architectural samples where it's here's the to-do app, and we'll do it 37 different ways so we can look at them all. Yep. I think we're in that a phase like that where it's not all the problems, not like Flutter's problems have all been solved, but there's this whole body of questions that haven't been answered yet, and problems that haven't been solved yet, and what's going to be the really cool package that somebody makes that's going to be the thing 3 years from now that we all kind of use and stuff like that. That part of this is exciting to me and fun, and that's part of the reason that we wanted to do building agentic apps, is just to get as many people as be now it's not, whatever you're doing, it's not wrong. We're all going to have more opinions 3 years from now, but whatever you're trying right now could be the right thing. Try it. Who knows? So.
Oh, all right. We got a couple more questions here. Let's try to get through all these before Andrew has to leave. Is there any documentation on building agentic AI apps with Flutter? And does Gemini offer? I know that's going to the outtakes reel. I get it. All right. Does Gemini offer any free services for testing? Oh, there's nothing free with Gemini.
So on the first one, is there any documentation? I would keep an eye on that URL that Simon was kind enough to put up before. We have a code lab that's out right now. If you just want to get started and see what it's like, we have a code lab that's out right now. That's build a Gemini-powered Flutter app. It was released a couple weeks ago. My colleague Brett Morgan wrote it, and that's a very straightforward Flutter and Vertex AI and Firebase solution. So it's all in Dart, and it's a very good, here's just a few steps, and you'll kind of get a handle on what it is to give an agent a goal and some tools to work with, and a very simple example. So that one I definitely recommend. You'll be seeing more and more stuff from us as we continue on this campaign. So that one I can answer. And the second part was about Gemini and testing, I think.
Yeah. Where'd it go? I lost it already. No, it went away. Anyway,
yeah, it depends on what you mean by testing. If it's developer testing, you can test in AI Studio, and everybody gets a certain amount of quota, so you can test your prompts and stuff like that. So AI Studio is a great place to. If you watched Observable Flutter, you would have seen Craig and I using it to sort of test out what we were doing and that kind of a thing. So that is one route. There are also the Build with AI campaign is going on right now. So that's not the exact thing that we're doing on Angular and Flutter. This is a Google-wide campaign called Build with AI that's focused on GDGs and developer student clubs and stuff like that. And so there's that, and some Flutter meetups where they'll actually have some credits that they can give out in the form of ramp-up codes. And so if you're signed up for some of those, you can get just a quick thing to sort of make the register a cloud billing account and put a credit card in, make that step go away for a little while. So that's something that is in the mix.
I guess this kind of leads on to something I wanted to announce today, which is the Flutter community started up the Flutter Community AI Circle. So this is yay! This is hang on, let's get that question off the screen. Where's that question gone?
Yeah.
There we go. So we've got two surveys open at the moment, and we've got community survey on the left and we've got a contributor survey on the right. The links are also in the chat. Give me 1 second. There you go. They should be in the chat now, so people can click on one or the other. And in short, so we're looking for people who want to contribute over the next 3 to 4 weeks. What we're going to be doing is doing several live streams about AI. We're going to show you how to use the tools, what it's about. And the key thing here is, if you're interested in contributing to our work on the streams or have maybe built a package like the Dart MCP one that we showed earlier, like the Flutter Gemma one that we showed earlier, or if you've been working and building a product with AI, we want to hear about that. So there's two sides to this. One is the contributor one. That means you want to present or show off your information, show off whatever you've been working on. And then the community survey is something we want everyone to fill out no matter what. So it'd be really great to get your feedback. And this kind of helps us gauge your interest in AI and what we can do better to sort of facilitate that, really, you know. There'll be some announcements coming over the next. Something we didn't make public. Whoops, hang on. Technical difficulties, everyone. Give me 1 minute, and I'll push the right buttons. Whoops.
That was a very soft launch.
In my haste to get everyone's answers, we didn't set the links to public, I guess. Give me 1 second and I'll do that. Yeah. So what? I mean, here's a question, open question for everyone here. What would you hope to see from the Flutter AI Circle stuff that we've launching here? Are you excited for anything in particular, or?
I'm excited because there are people who've been out there using it a lot. Randall, Ezra, Danielle, I don't know because we've not synced up on it. There are a lot of people like me who haven't done it, and that we're going to have different levels of introduction. So like ground level, never done anything with AI, have no idea the acronyms and abbreviations and things that were mentioned earlier. We're going to have that documented. We're in the process of getting everything going. We will have a website that will have all this information so we can centrally locate and have things. So like where Simon was talking about the contributors, having links to those things so people don't have to go and search all over the internet for finding different things. We'll have for the Flutter community a central location that you'll be able to go and do that. And I'm really excited because starting at the ground level and working forward and having that learning opportunity and working with other people who don't have a clue, haven't done it. There were some things that it was mentioned in the Flutterista conference when I presented. Ezra helped me. I was missing 2 lines of code. It kind of blew my mind. Randall and I are going to do a live stream. We just have to get stuff set up, walking through and showing in 8 minutes between what he and Ezra were showing me. My mind literally it was way too much. Couldn't capture it all. So we're going to have that. We're going to live stream here on the Flutter Community YouTube channel. So keep an eye out. This is just the beginning. Andrew talked about what Google is doing. They've got, they're doing theirs for like 3 weeks, where what we're working on is going to continue. I see this growing. And the biggest thing is we're a community, and to make the community successful, please register. There's that community survey and then the contributors, if you've got things out there. So I'm excited because we're at the very beginning, and spread the news, share with people, and make sure you come back next week too. Okay, I'm done. Danielle, go.
I want to respect Andrew's.
Yes, Andrew is 4 minutes.
Let me get this question because I want to get Andrew's take on it. I know there's probably other takes as well. Instead of loading custom models, is there possibilities of integration with Apple Intelligence or Gemini Nano? And I'm thinking they're already optimized. Are they limited? Do you have any thoughts on that, Andrew? Oh, except Andrew's muted. It's not a call until somebody.
There we go.
When they're
Hopefully you can
okay.
hear me now. The Gemma stuff is usually the name that I, for models and APIs. That's the thing that I'm hearing for on ODML on device stuff right now. That said, Apple Intelligence and Gemini Nano, Flutter app built for iOS or Android is still just an Android app and an iOS app. So you can use FFI to access these things. You can use JNI to access these things, or put it, make a plugin and have a layer of abstraction where you use method channels to call into them. And so that, the current integration, there's definitely not a plugin that I know of that I could point to off the shelf, although it might exist. But I think that's how you would go about doing those things right now. I think the really interesting bit is when we get, an FFI based, JNI based stuff that's already pre-built for something like Gemma, and you can easily just pop it into your app, and you still have to get the model on there for the devices. But I think it'll be an interesting cohort of applications that'll appear once that tool is in place. So,
I mean, that's not to say that people can't take advantage of the operating system provided features for AI. Like, the plugins have always been made by anyone. You can go make a plugin yourself and access the Android/iOS APIs to actually run a local model yourself. You have to wait for someone. If you wait for someone to make a package, well, then you might be waiting a long time because no one might want to do it, right? So take the advantage. If you're interested in doing it, do it, right? It's that simple.
And Andrew does have a meeting he's got to drop for.
Yeah, well, technically, I have an interview. The DevRel team is hiring, so we're interviewing. I got to interview a technical writer. Looking forward to that. And anybody asks you if Dart and Flutter are growing, I literally have a job interview for the team today. So there you go.
Oh, is that on the flutter.dev/jobs? I see. Tech writer too.
There you go. Thanks, Simon.
Hey, I didn't even see that.
Please still apply if you're interested. Yeah. So I'm gonna go talk to somebody. Hopefully have a nice time with them. But this has been great. Thank you so much for having me on. It is always nice to chat with y'all. Always nice to take questions. Yeah.
You're welcome back anytime.
Let me know when I can be of assistance, be of use to you, and I will try to appear.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming.
All right.
See you at I/O.
Bye, all.
All right, I've got to go too. My hour's up. Same.
Oh,
Okay.
no. All right.
Hi, Danielle.
Bye.
Things happen.
Thanks.
We'll have to live with that.
And then there was
All right.
then there was 3.
Yes. So now I can start doing the non-question. Although this one's kind of cute.
Nope.
What? Not that
No,
one?
go ahead, do that one. But I have something else. Hopefully Simon has a slide up ready.
Well, it's just this sort of laughable one. I know Raphael's probably just joking with us, but if I contribute to our project, will I get a Gemini Advanced license? If you order one, yes. If you pay for it,
Fill out the surveys, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
That's what
might
you
have
get.
a few connections here and there. It kind of works out that way.
So-
We can go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry, no.
Shut up.
Simon, did you create a slide with the links, or have the links from the cell that was above the community?
Oh no, the
one?
forum. No, not yet.
So, for those who
I
don't
will-
know or haven't used it, there's a Flutter forum out there, and what we have worked with the team is to create an AI circle category, and there's a chat. And so Simon is going to do his magic and share those links. Please join us. Again, this is helping with the centralizing the Flutter community. So we're not out going to a whole bunch of different places. So that is where to find the Flutter community AI circle. And I want to shout out to Rona. She gave us the awesome logo that was on the slide that Simon shared. So please fill those surveys out, and then go to the links that was shared, and join the forum community. Join the community on the forum so we can have our AI circle conversations combined together.
It's those things, right? Like there's so many. Like, I think we chose. I mean, there's probably the open question right now that people are, why do you choose the forum? It's like we've seen so many of these. Like we all use the
the Reddit, the Discord, the Facebook group. Like they're spread out all over the place, right? But that's fine for when you got an account there. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't like persist, right? We can't control where that data is, how it's going to be surfaced. We can do that with the forum, right? So what's really nice about the forum is that is very much the Flutter community area, right? We can all communicate together, and it's also nice. Forums that have a nice, interesting way of being able to be asynchronous as well, rather than being like live conversations or social media feeds of boundless amounts of news and information, right? So, if you're interested in AI or have more AI questions, pop them in the forum.
We have one more AI question first. So I'll take it first, and then we'll get to Lucas's three-part question. But let's do this first, because I could help answer this one. Which AIIDE? Oh, wow. I've never had to put those letters together before.
I did that. Yeah, I did that the other day. I was like, what?
Yeah, how do you read those letters? Would you recommend for Flutter right now, objectively? Windsurf, VS Code, Cursor, IntelliJ, Firebase Studio. So Firebase Studio is a rebranding of IDX. I had a lot of time to play with IDX. I used it professionally at the local GDG presentation I did where we did Flutter because nobody had to install anything. IDX is the entire thing in a web browser window. So it's really nice to have that sort of universal format. The only thing they added from IDX to Flutter or the Studio that I could tell, the Firebase Studio, is that they now take one prompt before you get into it. You can skip that and go right to templates, and it's the same as the old thing. So I like that because it has the integrated Google Code or Gemini Code Assist, which means it acts in an agentic sort of way to manipulate files and has a sense of your entire code base that you were editing and so on. So I kind of like that. If you don't want to install anything, you just want to use a web access and do your production work that way. Like maybe you have a lower powered machine or whatever. I think that's a great solution. Firebase Studio with Gemini Code Assist built into it. I personally, my choice is I'm on the cheap, so I can't use Windsurf or Cursor because you got to pay for them. So I found a solution that's zero pay, zero cost, and that is to use VS Code with Rue code in it. That is an agentic bolt-on extension that knows how to talk to places like Gemini. Well, if you get a Gemini API key, you get X number of hits per minute on it already for free. And so VS Code is free. Rue code is also free. Gemini is free up to a limit. So there's the entire same setup you would have with Cursor and Windsurf, but for free. So that's my personal recommendation because I'm cheap.
Also, make sure when you're using Rue code, because I ran into this, make sure that you're using, hold on.
Right mode. The right mode.
The right mode, because if you don't, you will run out of, I mean, you can just switch. And, evidently I closed it. I'll reopen it.
Not only the right mode, but the right back end. If you're doing a lot of
that's what I'm talking. Yeah.
A lot of little things. The Flash 2.5 model is amazing. If you're doing architecture or large analysis or whatever, use the 2.5 Pro, but just for those things, and then switch back to the Flash. Much nicer.
And one of the things where I talked about Randall and I, we're going to do a live stream. We're actually going to go through, I'm going to take apart everything that he and I did before. We're going to live stream, and we're going to actually be doing it so you can follow along and see that. We'll also have it in the documentation because I love to document.
It's not to say if you want to go ahead and pay for Cursor and kind of get an all-one already installed solution, that's fine. Same thing with Windsurf. I hear great things about both of those. The people are really getting a lot of work out of them. But I'm thinking VS Code plus Rue code plus Gemini is pretty close to the same thing, if not in some ways better, because the Gemini model has been shown to be better at coding than most of the other models that most of the other ones are using. So,
didn't you say that there was going to be an IntelliJ plugin for Rue code?
For Klein, and there's
okay.
so yeah. has Klein as a plugin already, and that's the thing that RuCode was forked from. So it's a lot of the same stuff. It has MCPs and stuff like that. Also, IntelliJ and other JetBrains things have access to Gemini Code Assist, which you can get for free up to a limited amount of hits per day. And that's another thing you can install. It's sort of on its own. Gemini Code Assist, though, is not agentic. It won't edit your files for you. It will tell you, change this file to that file, but you got to cut and paste yourself. So it has very limited access. It has view only access essentially to your file system.
So I've been using the IntelliJ AI assistant, and yeah, you've got a lot of models you can choose from. So from GPT-4o, 010, 203, Mini, Gemini 1.5, 2.0 Flash, and Claude 3.5, 3. And 3.7. Sorry, just reading them off the list here. But yeah, as you said, but it does actually, it's interesting. It does provide you there's a button in there which just says apply, right, and it will apply to but yeah, it's not necessarily as integrated as Cursor or the other ones that I've seen, where basically it just modifies the code and then you get to approve it. So slightly different approach. But however, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be going in that direction, right? So
yeah. Anyway,
I found it really helpful. So
that's that answers. We can move on. We now have some non-AI questions. Wait, let me make sure I didn't miss a question here.
Just before we get off the AI topic, and I think we'll be wrapping up there. So first of all, get your questions in the chat. General Flutter questions, Flutter Doc questions. And we'll see what we get to. This Sunday will be another vibe coding session with Norbert. Links will be posted after this very stream.
I'll be there,
and Randall's going to be there. And
I'll wake up early enough this time, not 2 hours late. That'll help.
What else?
Norbert is here on the Flutter community YouTube.
Yeah, it'll be here on the Flutter community YouTube. Yeah. And so well, there's a good point there. So subscribe and like and all that jazz. And if you subscribe, then of course you'll get a notification when the post goes out to say that the live stream is going to be.
And tell your friends.
Yeah,
we should have more on the live stream than we have. I don't mind having the great core of people that we have, but I'd like to have more in the core. That's just the way it works. It's more fun.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So not skipping totally away from the AI. Oh wait, I was just saying I pay $100 a month for cursor credits. Wow. Sorry to hear that. Okay.
I like the one beneath it.
Why Simon is using AI? Oh yeah, Simon is SI. He's Simon Intelligence. So he doesn't need anything. It's all just come. It flows out of his fingers somehow. I don't know.
I have to say, I was doing something the other day. And I was like, literally, you could have. I was talking to literally, they could have coded it quicker than asking AI and doing all that kind of whatever it is. Even with Cursor, I was like, you have to pick and choose the right things, right? I feel like if you're going to use AI, use it to your advantage, right? Let's say, for example, I wanted to add FFmpeg to a Docker container the other day, and it's a scratch Docker container with Dart, and I was like, okay, I know what I need to do. I need to spin up another build container, and it's still FFmpeg. Then copy the dependencies from that one into the scratch container. I'm just like, the exact which container to use, what was the name of the exact package, what version is available? I don't know. So AI it is, and it boom, and it did it, and I was like, brilliant. But I think that's the difference, right? It's like knowing what you want to do. It kind of can speed you up, right? Which is quite nice.
And asking your questions the right way also is very important.
Yeah.
You learn to talk to it. So I've been saying that for me, where AI, there's two areas that it's mainly been useful in. One is just cranking out boilerplate, because we do the same things over and over again. It's just variances in names or variances in the way the API is being called or whatever. And it's great that it can kind of fill in the gaps there. The other I've been using it for is creativity. When I don't have really any clue of how to do something, it can at least generate 2 correct clues and a broken clue. And so I can kind of sort through those and figure out how I want to do that. So those are the 2 areas that I think if you keep AI sort of in those boxes, and rather than just what people are laughing about now with vibe coding, just do the whole thing for me. No, I don't see that as replacing seasoned programmers anytime soon, because he still takes a hand on the tiller. You still have to kind of guide it to where you want it to go. And doing those two activities, one is super creativity, and the other is filling in boring stuff.
I mean, we can say that we can
Dash
say
has an AI brain on.
I was going to say we can say to the last 2 live vibe coding shows that we had with Norbert, that are in the very live section of this very channel. You can go back and watch them if you want. They are quite long, but if you want something to put in the background while you're coding, maybe that's a nice thing to have on. But that shows you there's some really good examples in there about how you communicate with AI, how you can get to do what you want to do. So Norbert's challenge here is to completely code a card game funny enough, about software development. It's actually really cool. It's really funny as well.
And for the people out there who don't know what vibe coding is,
so that's basically the pure vibe coding is just telling the AI what you want and it builds it.
Yeah.
Right. However, what you can do is vibe coding is also just using AI whilst you're coding, right? Like it's that kind of, I'm going to go for a vibe, right? I'm going to go with the AI and code stuff. I think there's what Norbert's trying to do is somewhere in between, which is he knows what he wants to do. He knows what classes to change, what things to do, but actually he's asking the AI to do absolutely everything. He's not typing one line of code. He's getting the AI to do all the changes, which is to the nth degree, of course, because it's like, well, you could probably just press refactor on the thing and type something in, and it would be quicker than to ask the AI to do it. But I think that a lot of the it's a very much a balancing act. I think we're from the last couple of shows, which has been more like asking it to do something and having it not go off and do something else. So it's about being precise enough with the way that you're asking it to do things that it's going to do what you want it to do. And again, it's because I think there's a sort of a nature here about complexity, right? Like the more complex a problem is, the more possible variations that there are, and therefore you have to be more precise with your context so it gets the right answer for you.
Okay,
anyway.
so can we do some non-AI questions just for a minute?
Sure. Let's jump ahead.
Okay, so here's Lucas, who's been patiently waiting since nearly the beginning of the show. Recommendation. He might not even be here because he said he had to leave, so maybe he's not even here, but we'll do this anyway. Recommendations for packages for showing a video stream. I have a friend, not him apparently, but his friend, who was using some AWS package on the native side and then displaying it through the platform views, which was kind of laggy. And then second part, it was also trying a native video player, said it was lagging as well. Could it be a problem on the code from his side? Hard to explain without showing code. Maybe you can share something for context. Building a square view like TikTok, but each video is a live stream. That's the problem.
Okay, so there's 2 things here. So let's go back to the first point.
All right, this one.
Okay.
Okay.
So recommends for the China package video player. There you go. Right. So the point here is there's literally no problem with playing with video player. The problem that you have, we say laggy, is 2 things. One is, are you downloading a stream and is it buffering and is it lagging in that sense, right? And then 2, laggy can also be because you're running video on an emulator that's being interpreted from ARM to x86. It's just going to be laggy, right? So how are you running it? How are you testing it? Also, the debug packages is going to be laggy, right? But when you do your final build and you play the video, it's going to be nice and smooth. So always test these type of things in a release build so that you can see how they're performing, or a profile build, right? Either one. Help profile it and see why it's laggy, right? Like see if it's buffering and stuff. But I don't. Normal video package. They'll play video streams, no problem. They'll cache it, no problem. There's also Chewy. Chewy is a community package. I'll pop this up on the stream. Chewy is it's a natural sort of extension to the normal video player package. It's what it uses internally. Let me pop this in the chat so people can see it.
So package Chewy is gives you sort of more of the high level controls, play stop pause. There's a bunch of stuff around video play that you probably want that Chewy provides. So yeah, have a read through it. You'll see the kind of things it gives you, like, you know, all the controls and full screen, inside full screen pop-up bars, all the rest of it. You can go check it out. So it's just basically a nice wrapper for video playback. But again, it might be laggy, right? Because that's how the device you're running it on or how it's downloading. So,
but then there's that second part of that question, right? The scroll view videos.
And this kind of goes into, I think this goes into something else, which is if you're loading multiple videos, then what you're actually running into is
you're competing with your right.
Okay, forget about them being videos for a second. Just imagine you had a scroll view full of pictures, right? High resolution DSLR pictures that are 10 megabytes each, and you're on a slow edge connection, right? When you fling through that list, it's going to start downloading absolutely everything, unless you tell it not to download as it scrolls so quickly, unless you tell it to cancel the ones that are scrolled way off the screen, they're not going to get back to. So it's up to you to decide how to handle the loading of the data efficiently. That is the app, right? So when you scroll, there may be packages for this. I have not gone and looked, but I will say that there is a, I'm going to find it here. I was actually looking at it the other day. I will bring this up on stream, in fact, which probably makes more sense. Bear with. Quickly. This one. Okay. So there's this function, recommend deferred loading for context. It's a static method on scrollable. So this means you do scrollable.recommend deferred loading for context. And you give the access you're scrolling, and it'll tell you if you should load this or defer the loading of whatever you're doing for later.
Wow.
It's that simple. And you call this during your loading. I mean, there's actually examples of this in the framework somewhere, if I remember rightly. But essentially, it works out. It looks at the velocity of the scroll, the current scroller activity, and basically says there's no point loading this because that widget is not going to be loaded by the time it goes off the screen, right? So don't bother trying to load this data, right? So that's a great thing. You can also calculate that yourself. You get the notifications, you get the velocities, you get all that information. It's not rocket science; it's a bit of math, right?
There's this follow-up here. I don't think that's the problem. I think it just says vertical page with many video players, which are getting disposed initially.
But this is my point. This is what I was saying, right? Which is you're not going to be initializing them or disposing of them. I think maybe Raf was a bit behind that on the stream, but you're not going to get like them initialized or disposed of because they shouldn't be playing in the first place, right? And I think that's about how you handle that. There's also ways of, and again, if you're doing these kind of scroll, this is why an app, just that app like TikTok, has many, many man hours to make that perfect experience because it's looking at all these problems and solving them, right? In this case, what you want to do is you can take the cache extent on you use a list view, you switch out the scroll physics for page scroll physics, you use a page controller instead of a scroll controller, and what you've done is you've made a slightly more customizable page view. So this is so you can use custom scroll view even with the same controller and scroll physics. And what this means is you can then set the cache extent to be like 4 or 5 pages. So what will happen is when you scroll, it's trying to load 4 or 5 pages ahead. Now, if you do that correctly, what you can actually do end up is that when you scroll one by one, the video is already loaded, right? The video is already prepared, but then that amount that you load ahead, you need to change based on velocity. So as the velocity goes up, you load less and less ahead, and as the velocity goes back down the scroll, you load more ahead, right? Because once they're sitting there, you could be loading 10, 11, 12. Just keep preparing if one video downloads, start downloading the next one, start downloading the next one. There's a whole system there that you can set up with some classes to have performant downloads of future content that they're going to fling to. So when they're in their doom scrolling, they can actually go to the next one. It's just there. right? Like that's the product. Like, sorry, I'm just there you go. That's it.
That's cool.
That's my
All right.
over.
All right. So that's that question. We got one more actual Flutter question. What Flutter packages are a must to learn? Good idea. Good question.
Must to learn. I mean, you want to go to api.flutter.dev and learn like the API. I guess I would also say you want to go to dart.dev and learn the API there. So when you're on these API docs, I'll bring it up on screen actually. You'll find that there's the reason why I'm saying this is you get the libraries and then you get the packages here, right? So you can go through, and all these core packages are worth like looking at as well. Also an api.dart.dev has the same thing. Load that up. There you go. You get all these. Now, what's interesting about these core packages is that there's Dart async, Dart collection, convert, and so on. These also exist as packages on pub, but without the Dart prefix. The Dart prefix means it's internal to the release of Dart that you're on, whereas the pub package is something that you can dynamically fetch and update at any point. So if I go to pub.dev and search async, let's load this up. So this async package here is effectively an extension of what's the Dart async package over here. And the same goes for collection, right? So there's collection package, which is from dart.dev, and that's an extension of this one. There's convert as well, and so on and so forth. There's an isolate one, I know. There's FFI. There's a few different ones. So just so you know, and then these are great packages to learn in terms of going forward. I don't know if the pub package, I mean, like you've got in here the Flutter favorites. They're a great ones to learn. And I guess I'd say the most popular, right? I mean, view the package by most popular and start learning about these, right? If you're interested in like learning about them. I mean, the problem here is...
And especially the first party packages. So the ones that are by Google Dev and Dart Dev.
Or Dart tools, things like that, yeah.
Yeah. Dart and tools, yeah.
I mean, you'd be surprised what...
There's some goodies in there. There's definitely some goodies in there.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. I did a video on that a while back. I should post the video. I should post the link to the video I did of the 7 domain names you should look for in the owners in the pub, because they're really cool, because they're first party. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
There's also fluttercommunity.dev has also got some publications.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So our actual Medium publication,
Cool.
I mean, right. I'm obviously I didn't advertise this, but we also have the fluttercommunity.dev.
That's the one I was talking about.
Yeah. So I'll pop the link in the chat. But yeah, these are all the Flutter community packages. It includes Chewing and various other ones. Pages and pages of them. So I'll post that in the chat now. I was, then we also have the Medium publication, which also pushes out various packages on occasion that are interested to learn. I think you just need to stay current, right? Like, just kind of keep an eye on the pulse of what's happening. Oh, I tell you what, it is. Sorry, I just remembered. What's the GitHub
package of the week is also useful.
Yeah. But there's package of the week.
That's a video sub channel of the Flutter video on YouTube. The Flutter channel on YouTube. There's packages of the week.
I'm not going to find it now.
Uh-oh.
That's really going to bug me.
Awesome, the Flutter Awesome GitHub. That's handy.
There's sorry, I'm trying to find it. I will find this and post it on my it's really good. It's really good. It's worth it. If I can find it, it's worth it.
If you say more, I might have it already, but
no, found it.
Good. Peace.
There's a trending Dart updates. Hang on.
Ooh, trending.
Dart.
Hopefully trending upward, not downward. Trending downward would be bad.
the one I'm trying to find. Anyway, trending repositories. Is that the one? No. The one I'm
Huh.
trying to find, and I can't find it. Oh, what
Oh, no.
annoyance.
I
Anyway,
lost my
there's,
brain.
huh?
Right after the show
I
is
lost
over.
my brain.
Oh no! Oh
I
no!
know. How's that? It's live streamed. I lost my brain.
Oh, no!
So there is. I mean, you can always look at this. This wasn't the particular page I'm looking at, and I will post this in the chat so people can go here. Trending Dart, GitHub trending Dart, and you can see what's currently trending in terms of Dart packages on GitHub. So if you kind of interested in maybe what's current right now, or what's in people are most interested in, that's one way. There is actually a there's a Dart there's a GitHub repository where if you watch the posts on it, you get updates, regular updates. I have to dig out my emails on what recent and trending stuff there is happening on Dart on GitHub, and it's really helpful. It's really interesting.
Cool. That is all the questions we have. So either we're doing some live coding or we're done. I don't know which it's going to be.
I think you should demo some of your AI stuff.
Ooh.
Who are you looking at? You looking at me?
Yeah, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you. Here.
Okay.
I'm looking at you.
Yeah, right. We're in the same city, which is what that little
For those who
hand
don't
wave
know, we're in the same
for-
city.
for-
We never have met face to face.
She's that way about
Except at IO.
8 miles that way. She's that way. So yeah.
Didn't we start something last week and we didn't finish it?
Oh yeah, we did. We always have things that are unfinished.
It was inserting new items in a scroll list,
Yeah.
and then having the items not having them stay steady.
Oh, this is interesting. Frey says you should show off the thing we just talked about.
Recommend deferred loading. In fact, yes, we could do it on that scrolling thing. So that's we could do
So
that. Yeah.
two things happening at once. Awesome.
Right. Well, do I want to start things, or do you want to start things?
No, you start stuff. It's fine. You're the live coder here. I don't want people seeing me type. Watching me type is no fun. No, I'm better than that. But I put the wrong stuff and back up a lot. I'm really no fun to watch typing. Really. You'd think after multiple decades of typing that I would get it down by now, but there's still times I get a little confused. Oh, there's an actual question in case we want to start that before you start this.
Oops.
I use the translate package with extension on string method, but unable to translate the Flutter toast message without context. How to get context when you're showing toast?
That is a good one.
Oh,
so
the thorny. Yes,
it's really interesting. You definitely do not hand it to the back end of your app. I think the difference is about how you approach the architecture of your app, right? So your translate package with extension on a string method. Well, that's your first problem. Don't do that. Sorry, it is literally that is your problem, right? So an extension method is static, right? So you have to pass the context to your extension. So your extension can't be a getter; it has to be a method. And now you're like, well, how to get the context to that method for the extension? Well, that's about your context that you're in. So I'll show you this in a second. I'll even show you how to do it with an extension. But it's really, the extension is probably the wrong way about going about the translation side of things. Let's put that to one side and we'll do some live coding on that.
Okay. All right.
I like the suggestion. Randall should do live coding.
No. and I commented, go back and look at my earlier YouTube videos where I tried to do that. And they're laughable now as I look back at them. There's a famous one I did where it's the future builder, stream builder, why not to have the future stream computed as part of the build. where I type and I mangle it so bad, but that one's got referred maybe 10,000 times now because everybody does a mistake. And it's like but my typing is horrible in it. It's like I want to redo it, but I can't get the same slot back. You can't replace a video on YouTube. So I'm kind of just stuck with whatever that was at that slice of time. So be careful.
Be careful what you wish for, people.
I know. Yeah. You don't want to see me type. You don't want to see me type. Although I don't do too bad typing at an AI, so I'm getting pretty good at that because I can be sloppy with the AIs. Somehow it just ignores. Normal computer interfaces don't do this, but the LLMs just kind of ignore when you spell words wrong or you're missing a word in a sentence. It just works. It's really nice.
Because they've been trained on the internet of misspelling.
They've been trained, and that's always my joke about LLMs is they've been trained on the average of all of GitHub. It's pretty mediocre. Just saying. That's kind of its core brain. The peak of its bell curve is average GitHub. Oh, here's another question. Let's see here.
Good question. I'm just trying to set up here, people, and then we can do some live turns.
Do you know of a method to display different kinds of modals according to some sort of priority policy? The priority could be async resolved against the back end. Oh, that sounds complex.
I mean, what do you mean? Like,
Yeah, really? What do you mean?
According to some sort of priority, yes, you could async fetch something and based on the priority do a switch statement, display a sheet or a dialogue or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe it's too abstract your question, Verdi. So, yeah. Try again. Sorry.
Okay. We're back to the one and only question so far now again.
Why are people pressing buttons? Stop pressing buttons.
Because you're boring me, and I wanted people to go do the surveys.
Okay. Go do the surveys. There you go.
Do not taunt the Simon on this show. Do not taunt the Simon.
I can't. Oh, I saw that there. Right. What's today's date? 23rd? 23rd. Where's the year going?
23rd of April. Yes, we got I/O coming up in a month. Oh, and I got my submission for FlutterCon. So hopefully it gets accepted. Hopefully. please. And hopefully somebody can come up with money for it. I might be able to get some GE money for it. So that'll be nice. But I have to be able to afford a hotel in New York.
Well, speakers only get hotel covered. So.
Oh. Okay. That's one less stress. Just need the plane ride covered then.
Right. Try and do this. Let's get rid of that. There you go. Yeah, that's better, isn't it?
Works for me.
Okay, so this is the code that we built last week. Basically just a list that stacks upside down, and then we decided to create like an auto poster. So when you hit play, that's gonna continually post new content into the feed, right? For reasons we haven't kind of got there yet. We can play around with that a bit more. We could try. We can try some AI stuff. I mean, this is the thing, right? So this model is like I could say here. Let me just show you here. So on scaffold, I can select the scaffold I want to select. So why is it select? All right, do that. I wonder if I can just do it here and just say this. Wrap my scaffold with a. This is just totally.
Okay, what
that.
did you click to do that?
I have a hotkey. I have
okay.
just a hotkey you can set up for like
Okay.
animate region that sets the status bar color to white.
Oh, system overlay style.
So there you go. With light, copy white, done all that. That looks good to me. So there's the original code. And that's what it's done. Accept changes.
Yep.
And I need to obviously import this. There you go.
Why didn't it do that for you?
That's interesting.
Didn't work?
No, it did. It blinked white. You probably can't see it for like one frame, and then
Weird.
Oh,
I don't know if that's
maybe you need to do a restart instead of a reload.
or maybe it's this. Hang on.
So in other words, the AI didn't do what you wanted it to do.
No, it's it. I don't know. No, something else is going on here, which is really weird. The overlay style at the top. I think the problem here is that overlay the app bar. The app bar is system overlay style. Yeah, okay. The app bar is overriding it. So if the app bar was to hide, in fact, let's do that. Can we do an auto hiding one? Can we do that on here? I can't remember how you do that.
Ask AI.
No, it's just
this.
I can't be one do that. So for those who don't understand, well, I don't know if anyone's been using annotated region before, but basically it means that you can add annotations, data to portions of your screen, portions of the UI. So the way this works with the system UI overlay style is that when it queries what is behind the status bar, it looks at the widgets behind and it works out what it should be, light or dark, which is really clever. So, for example, let me just see if I can do something here. So if I do say navbar color, if I can get this the right way around.
I already sent Simon down an AI rabbit hole. Didn't take long.
No. Oh yeah, no, I know what I'm doing wrong here. So hang on, let me just fix something else here. I'm just want to show you something with the bottom bar. So the bottom bar at the moment is black with the home button or whatever. So we do system Chrome. Import that. Really? Thank you. Set enabled. Come on. No.
Not feeling too bad about my typing now.
So that should, there we go. Now it's going edge to edge. So it's going behind, right? So we can set this to, let's say we set it to red. There you go, it goes red. And you see that the bar went to white, yeah? Now, if I set, we're gonna do something. I just want to show this to people because people don't understand how this works, right? So if I where's my list tile? Let's say list tile, can I set a background on here or something like that? Color, selected color, tile color. So if index is every fourth index, then colors are going to be red, otherwise it's null. Look at that. Oh, beautiful. Let's do blue. Right. So what we're going to do is say add background. So this is me just making it conditional just to show an example, but you're probably never going to need to make it conditional, but we'll see this. Let's go up and grab that one. Make my life easier. And then let's not worry about that. See if I can get this to go the way I want. Right. So do you see the way the bottom bar goes from red to black? See that?
Oh, yeah.
So what's happening here is if I copy this with system nav bar, nav bar, colors. I don't know. Try a different color.
Green.
Amber.
Oh,
sure. There you go. So now it's going to go amber when that portion of the screen is over the nav bar.
wow.
This is all built in. Most people don't. This all that stuff you don't see because the idea here is not about the background color making this obvious, right? It's actually more about the fact that you probably want this as transparent, right? And then you want the brightness. I believe it's this one. So this would be brightness dark, whatever. I don't forget which way around it is. So when it goes over the blue, it goes to black. And when it's not, it goes to white. So if we make this, if we get rid of the red for a second, just as an example, right, this dark with F-bar. Right. So as you can see there, it's black on white. And let's get rid of that transparent. We need that. And then when the blue goes over it, it says, because they're writing it, when the blue goes over it, it's the wrong way around. It's the other way around. Try this again. I've got my ways flipped around. Sorry.
Get a false where you need a true.
So are you trying to change the color of the bar that's going across?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So it is.
Nice.
It's not actually working at the moment, but yeah. Anyway, I can't be bothered messing around this right now. There's actually another one which is divider color, which I'm wondering if it's the one it uses. So of course it's not. I think it maybe it's because the background it's sneakily. I think if the background is transparent, it kind of. Let me just try a sec here. We're going to say white with opacity 0. Oh, sure. I'm expecting that to go the other way, right? So let's just see what happens if I flip this around. I'm probably flipping these. They need to be inverted or something. No, it's not going to happen when I want it to, is it? Okay. I must be just changing the wrong value because it is changing, obviously, but not the right value. Yeah, so they didn't need to deprecate with opacity because it is with a float, and that just literally goes. You don't have to do this rounding. Opacity can just go to with alpha. I don't know why that was deprecated. Oh no! Wait, no, these are floats. Yeah, no, there's no division needed. There's no 1 to 2055. These alpha values are floats between 1 and 0. 0 and 1.
So with opacity is the same as with alpha X, same thing.
No, because with alpha takes a int, which is 0 to 255. That's the noise, right? So the way you do now colors is with values, and then you get to override whatever value you want by its name.
Yeah.
And these
so
are
with
all
values
floats.
alpha.
Most people don't react. I don't know if we explained before. The reason for this is to support color spaces. This allows us to support wide color gamuts. So, I think of the name of it now.
Yeah, the integers
HDR.
would have caused a quantization that you would show
we
up.
see that already. We showed that on the show the other day when we did. We had barring on the lower colors, right?
Yeah.
And that's because like there's only 256 gradients of each shade of color, of each shade of red, green, or blue.
Right. Cool.
With a floating point value of a double, you've effectively got, I think they're 80 bits. It might be 64 bit, I forget, but of float values, which means that you get a higher precision value when talking about a color. Anyway, welcome from the Philippines. So anyway, so back to this. I'm not going to like fiddle around with this. Like you get the idea of what annotate region can do. I'm not going to futz around with it anymore. Let's get rid of all that. Back to actually some semblance of niceness. There we go. So anyway, with that, the whole point of doing this was that we can now take this. We're not going to use annotate region. I'm going to stick it on the app bar. Was it overlay? System overlays. No. And now we get to do one of them light. There we go. So now we've got a white icons for the top. Anyway, that was a complete waste of time, but anyway. Right. So what were we actually trying to do? I've completely forgotten now.
This is some designer coming along saying those need to be white, and you spending 20 minutes trying to make the code do that.
Yeah.
Which they do. That's how the relationship works with designers.
So I think there's translation, right? There was a translation question on the Vine.
Oh, yeah. And pull it back up.
And so just briefly talk about this. So here's the news feed, right? Here's news feed, and the I think a good way of explaining this, right? Okay, let's do this. We're going to do an extent. Let's do it out above here. Extension string translation. This is how not to do it, by the way. Right? Yeah, we know this. So we can say string translate build context. So let's do here translate. So when you use localization, in fact, we'll add a really basic. Oh, there's the original question from last week. We'll add a really basic app localization override. Oh, we need to include Flutter localization, don't we? Oh, it is included. Okay, that should be good. Something like that. Sounds about right. So when we declare the material app, there's a page, by the way, on dart.dev which explains this. Internationalizing, that's on. So here's the official page, internationalizing Flutter apps. Pop that in the chat. I think that's the one I just posted. Yeah. Which talks about how you do this with like using ARB files. You do not need ARB files to do this. It's really the ARB files just allow you to do some code generation. So we're going to do it without those. Hopefully. So I'm just going to do a brief example because there's no need to go crazy on this. So you have to redeclare localization delegates. This is where it changes. We determines how you find your localization. So we'll do that, and then there's actually ones that come from the platform. So this overrides all of them. So you need to include the ones from from Flutter itself, which are global material localizations, global widget localizations, and Cupertino. Obviously, if you're not using Cupertino widgets, you don't need this one. If you're not using material widgets, well, you don't need that one, right? So you've got all the options, right? And this pretty much like is an example of one of these. I mean, it's massive. Obviously, we don't want to do that, but I'm just going to do a really basic one-liner. Yeah, so it's an abstract class that implements a bunch of logic, and there we are, localizations delegate. That's what I'm looking for. So what we're going to do, if we go back to our class, we'll have app localizations, localizations delegate. With I'm doing this all backwards. Right. On. Why? Yeah, because it was material. Yeah, and then in here, this is going to be an abstract class. This is like localizations 101. Okay, really simple, right? So in here, we're going to have a string get title, app title. There you go. So this is what you want to override an implementation, and then the delegate is just how it interacts with the material app. In this case, support locale. We're going to support English, and can we not just do that? Ball. Okay. If locale dot country code. No, it's not country code. Language code equals. Yeah, there you go. And then when it goes to load a locale, we're going to say return app English localizations. And should reload. It's just basically saying if it's different, right? I'm going to do true for now. Make that stupid, right? Yeah. So now, so this is just like an interface, and then our actual implementation. And this has one getter, opens news feed, right? Then what we can do, we're going to add support for another language. Let's add French. What's news feed in French?
Oui, oui. That's the only French I know.
Oui, oui.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. The 8-year-old just chuckled in me too. Yeah, I know.
I'm just gonna put this in there. I have no idea if it's right, but it's what Google Translate told me it is.
Les news feed. Yeah, there we go.
Sure. La news feed. Yeah, exactly right. I completely expect this is not right, but
Someone suggested you use AI.
Yeah.
well, I am. I'm using Google Translate. Well, oh, you mean
No.
okay? Well, oh,
Yeah,
use it in the
in
app.
The
All right.
French word for news in there.
Translate this to French.
This. What's the this? How does it
It's
know?
done exactly what I want. Well, it did exactly
Really?
the same. But it did, and then it messed it up because it's got an apostrophe in it or something. But it came out with exactly the same thing. Yeah. I'm not actually going to do that though because I'm gonna novellas feed.
I mean, you're paying for that AI. You should be definitely using it.
I don't
more
like
fun.
anything. All right, we're just gonna leave it as that. I don't care. Okay, should we try German? What's news feed in German?
Der news feed.
Apparently,
write it in the code and use the AI.
All right.
Come on, Simon. Stop using Translate.
No, I'm trying. No, because like I need to understand. Like news feed is news feed. Like how? Thanks. I was like, wait, like.
Except it's one word and it's capitalized because
I
that's
just want a language that I can easily pick.
Swahili.
It's not really going with the AI circle.
Is there news feed in Swahili?
Esperanto that's Spanish, right?
No, Esperanto is its own language. It's a universal language.
Oh,
yes.
Spanish. Let's do Spanish.
Esperanto is spoken by something like 0.1%
cool.
of the world's population.
Let's do Spanish. Right, here's Spanish, right? Okay.
Somewhere there. Now I'm gonna get nasty email from Esperanto speakers now. But I won't understand it because I don't speak Esperanto.
Right, shush. It gets in trouble. Right. Switch. I'm gonna do a switch statement.
You should look at the comments, Simon.
Yeah,
I don't know if I should look at any comments. I'll get in
So
trouble.
that is not accurate.
Yes.
It would just be
Notius. All right, so just do that then.
Yep.
Or just notice. I can't make up your mind, people. Come on. There you go. We'll get that then. There you go. Happy?
Or bike shit translation.
Right. Let's just get on with the show. Right. Return. Oh no, when we're done. Right. Right. So what we want to do is say if it's English, we're going to return app English, and then if it's Spanish, return app Spanish. And then otherwise, we're going to throw big bad exception.
Supported locale.
Yes, let's make this async, and everyone's happy. Right, cool. So, this is literally how it works. Here's my. This could be any class you like. This is what it is. We have our overrides. These can be methods in here. It can be whatever you want inside your localizations. However you want to localize. As you saw with these ones in material, they do weird, funky things with date formats and all sorts. Right, like you can do whatever you want. So now that's in there, we're going to come to our extension and bring this up so it's aligned with the rest of this. So in our extension, we can then say localizations.of of context type app localizations, right? Now that's going to get the localizations. We could actually extend this a little bit more. Return what? Oh. That's better. There we go. So we're going to take this a bit further. I know this isn't exactly right. So anyway, so in this situation, what we actually want to do, if we can find the home page, let's just hide these, is that we want to take the newsfeed string and put that through our translation localization. So normally what you would be doing is you could have a extension that gets you on context. This is the normal way of doing it, right? Oops. Go to context. And then you could have it return back app localizations and call it localizations. Now you don't need, so this becomes a shorthand, right? From on any build context to get localizations, right? So now inside our class, if we want to get like newsfeed, what you can be doing is just saying context.localizations.app title, right? Nice and simple. That's what you can do. Now this works like synchronously, right? So that's what you can do there. Done. Right. That implied that we just implemented localizations, right? Now, what the questioner was talking about was the fact that to perform their localizations, you need the build context, right? You need to be able to get the localization, you need the build context. And what they're actually doing is they're going to be doing some asynchronous work. So let's say, let's do a button press here, void on button press. In fact, we'll do it in our feed repository because this is literally what they're doing. I can guarantee it. Sorry. Void show added or show started for us, right? Show started. So if we have a message in our feed started, implement that in here. Feed started. What's the Spanish feed started, people? We've got some Spanish speakers in the audience.
MP0 or something. MPCR.
We'll come back to that in a second. Anyway, so now in the actual, when we start the feed, we want to say show started, right? See the problem here that we don't have the context. None of this should have the context. It's external to the widgets, right?
Yeah.
So what people do is they might pass in the build context, which is reasonable, right? Then we could pass that across to whatever function that we need it in. And then inside here, we can say it'd be something like a scaffold messenger, isn't it? Scaffold messenger of context, show snack bar, and then the content will be context, not local. Localizations dot feed started, right? So there's like an example of what you might do. String can't be assigned to widget. Oh yeah. Text. Which is fine. So now when we start, we had to pass over the context. Now we're gonna we're going to expose a little problem here, but let's do this. Let's restart. Have we restarted? I think we have. Play. Feed started. Perfect. It worked, right? Great. Translation worked. It showed it up. Awesome.
Nice.
Now, the problem here is when this start becomes asynchronous, right? Let's say this is going off to the server and then it's coming back with something, right? You may have changed widgets. You may have done different things in your app. And now you want to tell the user the feed has been started, right? So back to the original question, which was, I use translation package with a string extension, but I'm unable to translate Flutter toast messages without context. So let's go back to, let's just go take, now we're set up, right? Let's go back to this.
All this preparation for this particular answer.
Well, that's the way it is, but it's also learning, right? So it's all good.
It is.
I like how you went through the localizations 101.
Yeah, it's not. Look, you can see it's like a few lines. It's not complicated, but then people go through all those generators and ARBs, and like you don't need to do it. In fact, we're going to actually improve on this. Okay, we're going to actually improve on this. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some. This is how you can also do. You can also do localizations. We're going to do this. We're going to say translations. And we're going to have a new file in here, and we're going to call it en.json.
Oh, I think that's what I saw on the VGV template, but I could be wrong.
And what we're going to do in there is this is, I pretty much guarantee this is what's actually happening. But I'm not going to jump to. If the original question is here, please speak up. Yeah. This may look stupid at the moment, but you'll see what I'm doing in a second. What's it called? App title, sorry, app title. Right, let's do another. Let's copy that. And we'll put in now. Did we get the Spanish for app started somewhere?
App title for what? For app started?
No, I was hoping someone's gonna. We had Spanish speakers. I thought we'd have feed started in.
Well, I'm trying to hear what. Oh, feed started. Okay, I don't know. Somebody will know.
Well, no one's told me, so I'm going to go with whatever Google Translate tells me.
El Fido started-o.
Feed in the whatever it is.
That fits.
Okay, so this is what.
No, it could mean set it on fire, but I don't think it means that.
So what we've now got in this grand puzzle here. Let's try and get these on the screen. There we go. So now we've got two sets of files here. Oh, sorry. There we go. That'll do. So as you can see here, we've got our English and Spanish. And then in our assets, we're going to ensure that we load up assets translations. That's what it was in, right? Yeah, assets translations.
By the way, sometime in the last week or two, I saw a package go by being announced where someone has taken Gemini and will do the translations for your Flutter app using Gemini's translation on a correct item-by-item basis. And it edits your source code and puts all the right names in there, just like you're doing by hand. It's pretty cool.
So what we now need to do is we're going to change this. So it's going to be string lookup p. Sorry, bear with me, everyone. I have someone at the door. Apologies.
Oh.
Oh.
So, hi there, Steph.
Hi, Randall. How are you?
Probably wondering why I called this meeting. I don't know now. You're not going to be watching me type. It's not going to get to that. I've gotten to use my pidgin Spanish in the chat. I'm having a good time.
Story time. What can we do?
I will say an interesting use case that I just came up with is if you use a tool like Obsidian, or I use LogSeq, which is an open source sort of fork of Obsidian, to
What's
basically
Obsidian?
Obsidians and LogSeq are both they're like personal wikis, but they store all
Okay.
their data as MD files separate, and then you make links to them,
Oh,
and they
okay.
have some knowledge and stuff with each other. So it's basically a personal wiki, with a lot of extra plugins and stuff like that. But I just realized I could point VS Code at my LogSeq directory, and since those are all individual MD files, it can read them and understand them. So it could take a look at, for example, my appointments coming up for the week if I'm storing it in that system, or write stuff for me for things that I want to get written and written up. And it would probably also have knowledge about the internal macro language that they built on top of Markdown.
And then it
to,
publicizes it to the world. Here's what Randall's doing this week.
Oh, no, I mean, you could have that as an adapter, but this is mostly
There you
a
go.
private wiki, actually.
Gotcha. Okay.
It'd be kind of cool. But I just thought this morning about, hey, I could point VS Code at my top level directory, and it could just talk to all my MD files in my knowledge base, my virtual brain. That'd be kind of cool.
Sorry, Simon. We
Yeah.
were just chatting, filling
No,
time.
no, no. Make time. Sorry about that, everyone. Anyway,
No, it's okay.
so map, string. Come on, time. String. Translations. This dot translations, and then lookup is just gonna be a pretty quick and dirty key. The functions there, in case you actually want to do something with this, right? There's no particular implementation anymore for these two. We now have a generic implementation, right?
Generic.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
What is that?
Cool.
Red?
So now it's basically just a wrap around a map, but that's fine for the moment. We could add more into here. It's kind of a nice like way of looking at this. So now we've done this in our load. We can now say get the language code. And what we need to do is find that asset. So we look at we can say asset data equals root bundle. Load string, and then the key is assets, translations. Let's put the language in there. I mean, you can obviously do language and code. We could also do locale. I'm just going to do it based on the language right now. Yep. That's going to get our file that we want to load. And then we can return a app localizations. And then the translations are going to be JSON.decode asset data. And away we go.
I'm wondering if you could have come up with a prompt 20 minutes ago that would have just done this in one press.
I don't know actually. Like I wasn't trying to aim for this, right? There's a flow to that.
I get it. This is what I ponder now that I've been watching Norbert do this, because it's amazing.
So now what's happening here is when the app localization gets to ask to load a particular locale, it's going to go find that file, try and load it. At the moment, obviously, this is going to be, you can do like a try catch on, you know, whatever it is, like asset not found or whatever, it gets thrown, and then you can throw it unsupported. And maybe we'll just do that. Right, so spin it up. I will put these two files up there. Oh yeah, we have bugs because I was doing it. So here, where it goes to translate, now we can do context dot localizations dot lookup this. And what this means is down here, when we're instead of doing feed started like this, what we're actually doing is saying feed started dot translate context, right? And then the same goes for down here for app title. So what we're doing here is essentially putting in the keys that we're actually looking up from the JSON file, yeah, into the code, and then using that as our. But this is like, why am I doing an extension method at this point, right?
Also, you have the problem that it's not compile time decided, so that if you make a typo in either of those strings, you're no longer connected.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the reasons why it's not good to do it that way, right? And you know, but you know, there's interesting ways about making this dynamic. You can also do code generation. There's some other things you can do. There's another way of attacking this, which actually makes it slightly better. It's somewhere in between the two, which I'm going to show you in a second.
Okay.
Let me find the.
Over the years, I found that string matching can always lead to, well, has the possibility of leading to interesting and hard to find errors. And it's better to use compile time determined things like enums and stuff, which make sure that it is a valid value.
Yeah.
When possible. Which is why Lisp was always interesting. It's always dynamic.
Language code was going to give you language tag or whatever it is, gives you just the beginning piece. Loading translations EN it is. What went wrong? That is the question. It definitely is trying to load EN. Oh, sorry, it's off the screen there. It's trying to load EN from our original language, which is great. It should be finding assets translations en.json.
Did you do a pub spec get since you changed your assets?
Did I? I thought I did. Let's find out.
That's bitten me a lot, where if you don't run get after you change assets, things don't work.
Probably going to be that. Something silly. Let's find out.
I would hope it's that simple.
No, but this is good. We get
Okay.
to
Different error?
to examine what it is. Well, it's just it can't. Well, we wrapped it unsupported and we dropped the error on the floor. So maybe we should maybe we should do that.
Ah, yes. You should watch my video on Dart best practices for exceptions. Out probably hopefully today. I've got it in the can. I just got to publish it.
So map it's basically saying that this .cast as map
subtype.
You thing. I want the words I want to say.
JSON gets in the way again.
I love watching Simon debug. He goes really fast, but what he just highlighted was helpful.
So what's happening here is we've got a type coercion problem, right? So basically, map of type of string is not a subtype of map of string and string. It's the dynamic getting in the way again. So what we're doing here is effectively what JSON decode returns as dynamic. It's just purely dynamic because JSON can be decoded as a top level as true, false, null, string, all the unique values that JSON can be, or it can be a list or an object. That's kind of like how it can be interpreted. Officially, the official standard means it has to be an object at top level. Not always the case. So it's very flexible, which is great. However, this means that now we need to upcast it as a as map to indicate that we know that we're going to be getting a map back and forcing that. And then it'll still be a map of string of dynamic, as you can see here. So then we cast that to being a map of string to string. Again, it's the same as like doing an upcast in a sense. This is dynamically casted. It returns back a cast map iterable, I think it is, or something like that. Basically, when you try and access a key from this, it will then interpret and do an as string on the value, in this case on the return response. So
and because you've created the JSON, you know that it's a map.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's a map and it's of string.
I mean, if you're using JSON from someplace else, it may not necessarily be.
But that's the point. So this is about the point about how you want to do your JSON deserializing. Like if you want it to be dynamic in the way it operates, or you want it to be strict. For most times, because we're strongly typed, we want it to be strict. So that is, when we expect an in, we expect to get in. However, JSON and Dart have a string. I would say that, but there's also a thing called num, which is a type that's in Dart, and JSON, which is an integer or a double, right? Any number basically. It can be integer based or floating point. So anyway, and that's what you'll get back from JSON. Anyway, so let's start this again, and I think what we'll do is we're going to get rid of that unsupported locale, just let it crash out.
Why?
That way we get the error. That we get the debugger errors. Right, so look, we have English, we have newsfeed come up. I'm going to hit play. It says feed started. Now, if I change the locale of this device to, this is going to be interesting.
España.
System language.
Mexico.
And so here you're specifically using the device language, not having a language built into the app.
No, this is how you should do it.
Yeah, I'm just clarifying for people who may not know.
Oh.
Yeah, you generally don't want a language picker in the app. You want it to be using what the system is set up.
Unless you're Google Translate and you're picking it that way.
That's true. Same way with light and dark mode. I mean, the number of people who spend a lot of time adding a light and dark mode to their app, it's a little weird.
So I want to show this to people. There's actually two languages. If you have developer mode turned on, you get 2 extra languages. These are the ones showing at the bottom here.
Ooh.
So these are test languages. English 1.2, pseudo accents 1.2. See that?
Ooh, geez.
So when you change to this, what it does, watch this. It will put everything on your phone becomes with accents. You can test to make sure accents are appearing correctly within your app.
Nice.
Right? So that's just
really incorrect accents. These are heavy metal accents.
Yeah, and then there's also this one. See if you can work out what that one is.
Big Latin.
It's going from right to left.
So this is English, but right to left.
Wow.
So look,
and this you're doing this on an Android device.
Arabic pseudo.
So the point here is that it allows you to test your right to left capability of your app, but still also be able to read your app, for one of a better word, right? It's backwards, but you can read it, right? So if you're not familiar with the right to left language in Arabic, you can still make sure that your app is responding appropriately.
I believe this is Android only. I don't think this is an iOS. So.
Yes, it is. Well, I don't know about iOS, but on Android you can do it. All right. So now we are Spanish. We should have actually switched, but I think I don't know reloading. Why does it say EN?
Uh-oh.
I chose. Yeah, that's Spanish. Oh, you know why? You
have to restart the app.
I told it I only supported.
Oh,
that'll do it. So we'll have a switch statement in here and just say locale.language code.
And At least on my iPhone, I can add additional languages and change the order. There isn't a default for right to left, but you can do.
Didn't
I
need
don't know if you get like a. I don't know if you get like a dev. Dev
Yeah, and
thing.
my phone's not in. Yeah.
So let's try this again. Why am I getting English? Let me.
Uh-oh.
Check
You have
the
to restart
simulator.
that. Are you watching for platform changes or whatever that is? Because if you don't do that, then it's not going to notice system language changes.
Oh, it's done automatic. It's done automatically.
Sure.
I believe.
Oh yeah, maybe for the translation stuff. If you start using that, it might.
Yeah, but
watch that.
why am I getting English?
Oh.
Oh, locale.
No habla
Oh,
English.
wait. Something just clicked to my head.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, hang on a minute. I think I know what's going on here. Supported. Let me just see if you don't have to have them like this, right? So to be clear, you could actually have it really should be on the delegate. Oh, goodness me. No. I don't think that's going to solve it, but I want to just check it. Aha, there it is. ES. Okay, that's good. This apps ES is not supplied by all of its localization delegates. What?
What? Yeah.
Yes, it is. What are you doing to me?
Mm.
Is it because it's like ES Spanish? Yes. Let's do widgets. Delegate. ES. What am I? What? Global material localization considered using global material localization delegate. Okay. No, we've got that. Wait, what? Global material localization built using using that. Cupertino localization that supports location was not found. Oh. Okay, so apparently somewhere we need this. Someone's going to leave it in there.
Blame Cupertino.
I'm just going to leave it in there. There we go. Now we have Spanish. Yay. Okay.
They speak Spanish in Cupertino. I'm pretty sure they do.
So now if we go in here, change to English, switch the app back. Oh, go away. Yeah, it's in English. Yay. Okay. So what we're actually doing here is dynamic lookups, right? So we don't use ARB files, we're using JSON files or whatever we want. Now people do this thing, which is even worse, and this is what the person might be doing, which is they put the key name for, like, let's say Spanish, and let's do Spanish. They put the key name as the English, and their magical idea, which is really, really bad, is that this idea where in the app you can then put the English anywhere you want and it'll be translated to the Spanish. The problem here is if you mistype this or it's slightly different in some way, it doesn't get translated and you get a problem, right? So this is what Rand was saying. Like looking up on keys dynamically is not compile time safe, right? Like you will lose what it is. There is as I was saying earlier, there's a slightly better middle ground, And you could do this as more of a, in here, you could have like static app title, right? What was it? App title? I can't remember what my own keys were. Yeah, app title. And, oh my god, feed started. You can even have these as like keys or something. I don't know.
Just thinking you can have Dart code in your assets, but there's no way to eval it at runtime. So
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't be safe anyway. You wouldn't want to do arbitrary code in there, right? So you could do something like that, right? It kind of defeats the purpose at this point. Like, we'll look at how long this is getting, right? So yeah, so normally I mean, there's plenty of ways of doing this, right? Like, this is the extension idea is great, but now you've got to translate on any string. You cannot translate any string. You can only translate the keys, right?
Yeah.
So this is why an extension on a string in this situation is bad, right?
Yeah.
Because you might run this on a function and be like, why is my code not working? Why is it not working? Or things might go crazy and not work, right? So this is bad. Don't do this, right? Instead, what you can be doing is, as we were saying earlier, you can do context dot localizations with that, and then you can actually have it as a callable class even, right? And look up your keys, right? Now, if you do it right, what we could do is have a set of, say, localization keys or something like that. In fact, in the enum, and then have these in there. So at least, you know, you've got something to look up. Then lookup takes that as a key. You could also, as we said earlier, like, you've got this lookup function, right? Where's my, let's go back down here and just get to what we're trying to do here. So, oh, yeah, I was going to show you, you could do a callable class. Let me just finish that off here. So if we say context localizations title, we'll put the key in there. What was the key? It was localization keys. Key. Back down. So we'll use that. Feed started, yeah. And then app title. Now it's not callable at the moment, so we're going to make it callable. So we go up to here and we can add just rename this
call method.
So a call method.
Yeah.
Yay. So now in our code, we can say, where is it? Context.localizations, and pass it a localization key, and it will look it up. So restart, and it looks exactly the same. Wow.
Whoa. Change nothing externally.
And then, which is what you want, which is what you hope when you do this stuff, right? And there's the Spanish, right? So this is one way of doing it. We could extend this a little bit further. You could actually make this slightly better by doing this, which is back to kind of where we were originally, right? Slightly different. Again, it's still dynamic, right, in the way it loads. But what you're doing, this is about where the responsibility of things lie within the application's single responsibility principle. So at the moment, we were spreading out the responsibility of, by doing it this way, subtly, we're now spreading out the responsibility of those keys and getting the right key and making sure it's right all across the application. By making methods, by making getters that we now call up here, this becomes a private lookup function. So you can only get translations through localization class through getters, right? So now app started and feed started. Well, you know what? We don't actually need the key anymore. right? Because we can hard code that in here, right? So what this now means is that there's less chance of you getting the spelling typo mistake across your application, right? Because you're going to be using this here, right? This getter. And there's a finite set of those when you look it up. And then that's going to be linked to the right one. So all your spelling mistakes or typos, or whenever you want to add a translation, you're adding one line in, like here. You add it into a translation file and you add it in here and you're done, right? So now if I go back down here, you'll see that now we've got context localizations app title. Context, where are we? Further up, feed started. Now, could we do a plurals example here? I mean, we could. It's kind of what in this mechanism. I mean, so this was the thing that popped up here. Where was it? Plurals. So I'm not going to go into it really because I think we want to get off this topic and get back to some other things. I think people are interested in seeing some other stuff. We've been talking about localizations probably way too long. So the INTL package is the one you want to add. The INTL package, internationalization package, this allows you set the default locale based on what it is, and there's a whole loading thing. You can read up about it, but the point here is in here, it has some top level functions, if I remember rightly. And one of them is plural. There you go, plural method. And this is the way you describe it. Inside of your translation functions, the one we're just making the getters, you run this function, and then you're passing in how many. So do I actually have the INTL package? I'm not going to go off topic here. Where is it?
Plurals is where I learned that not everything is like English. It's really weird what plurals do in some languages.
Not weird. It's different.
Okay, it's different.
Yes. And I know you're doing this. I'm just going to do a time check because I don't know if you're wanting this to be a 3-hour because we had our AI circle before. Just putting that out there.
You
Not trying to cut things off.
He's got 20 minutes. Just let him type. He'll be fine.
It all depends on everyone else. Does everyone else want to leave it here? What does everyone else want?
There are still 20 people watching.
Yeah.
Well, I'm one of them, so 19.
Yeah.
Do you guys? Well, let's find out. The audience. Do you want to continue? Type in the chat. So yeah, we could have string get item count. I don't know.
Let's see everybody still here in the chat.
Count.
Say yes because they're already here. They're committed. Yes.
And you step away. I'll be right back.
All right.
Yes. Here's a question. Generated delegates use international plural logic, which honors the signature of the top level function you just shared.
Sure. I mean, honestly, to pick and choose, I really.
Yeah.
Internal. This is internal function.
Oh, okay.
Internal implementation of the plural. Use the plural function. There you go. Literally tells you to use the plural function. Right, what's it doing? Why isn't this working?
I don't know.
Get off my lawn.
If only you were using AI, you could ask the AI, what is it? The hell is it doing?
Oh, intl.pro. There you go. In other words, I didn't need to use an alias. Yeah. There we go. Right. And then how many is the count? And then when it's 0, we can put 0. I mean, for those that don't know, this is literally, oh, come on. So if there's 0, let's say hours. Let's just say duration, duration in hours. I don't know. Right. Maybe this is a good example hours. So we could say if there's no hours, we can say none, right?
Yep.
If there's one, then it's 1 hour. And
Yep.
then many, we can say hours or something. I think it's something like that. I forget.
Right.
I mean, go read up the docs. It is in the docs. For there you are. For plurals, too many categories. I can't remember if it actually just selects the right one, or if it actually based on the locale, or it does other one, few, many. Yeah. Anyway.
I think it delegates according to rules.
Oh, other is required. Other. Yeah. So that's the kind of thing that you can do, right? So this gets around the point where you need to, in English, we postfix singular, multiple, right? So multiple, you get S, singular, you get 1. So 1 hour versus 5 hours. And we can have a blank string for none or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, right. Let's that was I think deferred loading. We did the deferred loading quickly, so we can see if we can do that.
How quick can you sneak that in?
I think we can scoop that in really quickly.
Okay.
Challenge accepted.
Can you use the AI?
So we need to start with 500 items, and we're gonna load the other way around. Where are we? Okay, so 0 at the top, all the way down to 500. That's plenty stretch for us to stretch our legs. Yeah, cool. Now we're going to wrap our. We're going to have a stateful. Yeah, stateful widget. We'll call it. I know, post tile. And it's going to be a wrapper around the list tile. And string post. I just want to set up, basically what I want to set up here is a way that we can dynamically see futures being loaded on the screen without too much hassle, right? So what we're going to do is when a tile loads up, first of all, we're doing it the bad way, and then we're going to like correct it and show you how that recommended deferred loading is actually going to solve this for us. So, so first of all, we're going to have a future. And then we're going to equal that future is going to be future dot delayed okay, so we have a color transparent, and we're going to spin up a future delayed on 3 seconds when the widget loads up, and we're going to have it. In fact, we're going to do extend a little bit more with an index. Oops. And then in the tile, in the leading spot. We'll put a size box, square size box of 48, and it's going to be colored with our color. And inside that, we're going to have our text without index. Sure, we'll have that. Why not? Yeah, widget. Cool. Right, see what happens. Hot restart. Oh yeah, because I broke it. There's that. That's better. Closed. Index. Try it again. There we go.
Okay.
So if I scroll, you see they slowly catch up.
Yeah, and they don't actually start until you've seen them, right?
Yeah, because that's where they get initialized, right? Nothing off screen is getting initialized. If I go up,
Oh, that's weird. It kind of scans the other way. Oh, because it's directly
they're
related.
loading
To
again, right?
Yeah, it's exactly 3 seconds after when you scrolled, right? So
yeah, let's change that to 2, and then I wonder what we can do.
So if you scroll the other way, do they stay green?
no.
Well, no,
Or is it?
That's why it shows you trailing. Let's stick on the other side. So, okay, there it is on the right. So, yeah, now if I go back up, because they're being recycled, right? This is how widgets. This is how widgets work on lists, right? Because they're being recycled, they're not staying around, so the data is getting reloaded. So this is one of the reasons why what you would do, and this is one of the reasons why what you would do in this situation is you'd have your post wrapped. You'd have your sort of your list wrapped in some sort of state, right? So it's really simple. Like you could do this, like post cache, right? And then inside here we're going to have we'll call it cache, and it's going to be a map of int to string, right?
Or a RiverPod family would do this very well too.
In fact, we could do this as a what's it called? A future result? No. Yeah, we'll call future result. Oh, this is the async package. Can I be bothered with all that? Not really.
Oh, you wanted to capture the error type if something happened.
Well, no, I was thinking about capturing the future itself, because you capture the future, then that way we don't have to create new futures, right?
Oh, right.
There's other reasons to do things certain ways, right? Anyway, so now we've got this post cache. What we could do is, in fact, if we're a bit clever with this, actually, so I'll take that out and do a stateful widget called post cache, right? In here, it can have its cache, and then this just forwards over the child. Oh crap! I pressed the wrong button. There it is. All right, and it's going to return child. So this is just all this widget is now doing is holding the state of cache, right? Yeah, they're right. There we go. So now what we can do is inside our post tile, when it starts up, we can say, I want something I can load. I guess we can say loaded. Kind of seems a bit pointless. Okay. Well, I mean, like, yeah. I mean, we could do something like, yeah. Oh no, it's the primaries. Yeah. And then do index. This. Why don't we have? I'm trying to think. Like I was thinking about like loading the post text, but we provide that. We could have the value in the string be provided. So the index. It kind of seems a bit pointless. Maybe it's a good example. I don't know. Maybe a quick think about this. Hey, look, we've got multiple colors now.
Yay, rainbow.
It was just something to kind of like break up what that green is, right? Not sure that's a good idea or not, but anyway.
So when you when you're doing the scrolling, so are the colors going back to the same spot? So like right there, third, like the row that's the
8 is always going to be that. 8 is always going to be that. Okay. Because the modulus operation here, right? It's based on absolute index. So if I scroll down, what's going to look? I'm going to scroll down really quickly. You see the problem now? It's not taking 3 seconds to load those. What it did was it actually loaded all of these before it.
Oh.
But what actually happened here is because the cache, we don't have a cache, it has to reload them each time. This is what literally happens with a bunch of stuff. So the image cache on Flutter does one thing. It caches based on the provider. So each time you load a new widget with the provider for the same information, it can go get the existing one from the cache and utilize that. It's still like you need to think about these things. Most people don't think about this kind of stuff, like async and your widget tree. You need to be quite careful, right? So, anyway, so now we've got this post cache. What I'm going to do is have it load up, string, sure, and then what we're going to do is let's just make I'm just avoiding doing any sort of, you can use whatever state management you want. This is just a way of just doing this as a quick example right now without that being a problem. Let's say string cached value of build context index cache is context.defined. And it's just the state of type. Turn cache index. Cache. Oh yeah. Dot. This is state. And and then this can be nullable. It may not exist. All right. So now, if I go down to our thing in here, we're going to have result. Static.
As long as you're right there, change colors.primaries to colors.accents. I actually consider that rainbow a lot more fun to look at.
Sure.
Right.
And then
it's prettier.
So we're gonna not worry about the color's gonna stay there. But this will be I'll take this out of, I'll move this into this section and say
you don't have the index there though, do you? Oh, my system froze.
I'm here.
Oh, just Simon froze.
Yeah, it looks like Simon froze.
Okay,
I thought he was, I thought he
you
was
didn't move
thinking
at
for a
all,
second.
though. I was looking around going, okay, am I the only one moving here? Okay, Simon, it's not me, it's not you. Okay, I get it.
Let's blame you making him change the accents.
I know, that's right. It's the
Or not
universe
making. You asked him.
getting mad at me for selecting that.
Yep, I see him
Simon,
coming
there's
back.
popping in. There's Simon. You're frozen.
Now we
You're
have two Simons.
What happened there? I don't know.
Get twice
Well,
much time.
we weren't talking and we weren't moving, so we
Yeah.
both thought that everything froze.
Yeah, then I start looking around like, am I the only, like the end of all those police squads where they're all frozen except for the guy that's running
Well,
there or whatever. Yeah.
anyway.
Hey, we picked up a
Yeah.
viewer.
Let me get this back
Yeah.
up and running.
Cool. I don't see your desktop anymore.
Yeah,
It wasn't your new router, was it?
No.
Oh, because that's so cool. That's a whole other topic.
Oh, technical difficulties.
Share screen. You still with me?
Yes.
No, well,
I thought Randolph froze for a second because his face was like. That's just your face, Randolph.
I was puzzled. I was contemplating things. Here we go. Let's see how much prettier those are. The accents is better range. Pretty sure.
Right. Let's try this again. Why are we?
Don't freeze up on us again.
I went in the other room to get throat lozenges and more water. I got the water, but I forgot to get.
Oh,
I
no.
really hate allergies. Just saying.
Oh yeah.
Right. Here we go.
It's triggered for me too. It must be a Portland thing.
Okay, so result, we want to get it from the cache to begin with. If we have a result, well, there's no need to load a future. So result is equal to null. That's when we want to load our future. After we get our result, yes, we want to do set state on result equals. This would be dots on index in this case. This would be whatever the result is, right? Which it indexed. And we also want to make sure that it goes into the post cache. So what we might do is actually have this return back a map itself. We're actually doing like cache of. That's better. Yeah, that's much better. And that way we can actually preserve the cache. Here, so we say cache equals post cache of context, and then result equals cache. And then here we can say cache widget index equals, and this will be result. Okay, so great. What am I missing here? So yeah, we could also do this trading area. We could also wrap this in a future builder. which is actually slightly more optimal in this case, where we pass it the future. When we got the result, that can be the initial value. And then if result is not null, then future can be future dot value result. Let's get a builder working. Get a widget in there.
See, just one step further, and you would have had a future provider from Riverpod. You're real close already. Then it would have been 5 lines of code. But this is good to see how to do it. Explode it out.
So now the mounted check is not on the back end. This is still all basically the point of doing this, by the way. Sorry, the reason why I'm changed to a future builder is that the future continues operating and can always put stuff in the cache. It doesn't care if the widget's mounted or not, right? That's a front end problem.
Oh, yeah.
So
oh, so this will actually, when you scroll back, it's not going to build now because it's already built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If result is equal to null, and return.
Now we're at the top of the hour.
Yeah, we'll wrap up in a second. We'll get this working and then wrap up. So we'll just get the deferred in there and then we'll call it a day. So I'll put that back in there. Right. Restart. Oh yeah, it's not running anymore. Let's run up again.
Cradle, cradle, cradle. I made you out of clay.
So when you do this, you've got, okay, so it stopped and you've got the colors, but if you scroll really fast back, is it going to fill in the ones that weren't there?
It's not about
filling.
Yes, it's basically if it's already loaded and got the result, it will display it because it's already got it, right? That's the idea of having the cache, right?
Well, I was talking about, so if it goes really fast and it hasn't been on the screen and hasn't been filled, does it still do it, or does it wait until it comes on the screen at some point?
I don't know what you mean there for a minute. So ask me that question in a second. Let me do this. Right.
Okay.
So now if I scroll, still going to load, right? So still the same thing's happening. However, now
these are great colors.
However, now what the interesting thing is, if I go back up,
they're already there because it's still cached it.
Now remember that the widgets aren't there. The widgets are getting rebuilt, right? And what it's doing is it's finding the value that has already been loaded from the cache and showing that on the screen.
Yep.
So if I go down like this really quickly and then start going back up and start going down, eventually it's gonna have caught up and now everything gets filled in, right?
Yep.
Now the point here I'm trying to make is there's a reason for doing this, right? So if you notice that delay, what we don't want to do, imagine that each one of these things is a HTTP call. We do not want to be hammering our server with, as someone scrolls, with hundreds and, of calls, right, to the server. So essentially what we're doing is we want to control when these are actually these futures are being created or maybe executed. Maybe that's the better word. So that's where the kind of deferred comes in. So in our post, we're going to move things around here. So it did change dependencies. Oh, and we should be able to do scrollable dot recommended for loading context. So I don't think this registers our scrollable. Get inherited widget.
Global scope.
I don't actually know if there's an example in the I don't know if there's an example of this in the framework actually. It's probably scroll for images. It looks like you can scroll scroll away image provider. That's the one I was thinking. Scroll away. Go take a look. So when it gets to ask resolve stream for key, it says somebody still wants the image, but check if the context is scrolling too fast for scheduled work. And then it schedules it to resolve it again in the future on another frame, right? I mean, it's a pretty simple idea, right? So the idea being that next time round, if it's still loading, it's not going to load it again, right?
Oops, sorry. Trying to copy the string, and I'm clicking on it to copy the string, and of course that makes it so annoying.
I find if you click between the boxes and drag, you can select it. So void load this, and we'll put our context in here. We'll take this.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Yeah, okay, get it.
We're going to go by their example. I mean, it's one way of doing it. Sure, right. And then if it is ready to load, then we're gonna so this is more about us staying up. So we say if result like null, then it's going to be synchronous. Future value is fine. Where was I? Cache is another thing that we're going to need to put into our state. That's fine.
Well, that's just crazy cool. I just went to Dartpad and said, give me an example of scroll aware image provider. And it created a whole 200-line bit of code here.
Right.
And it doesn't work.
Oh, it's not post actually. It's a map of
Gemini.
It's a string. Okay, so we won't bother putting it there. So when we start up, we're going to check to see if we're delayed. Actually, we only want to do this if result is null, right? So if result is not null, then return. We'll just do it up front. Check there. Then what we're saying is if we should defer our loading, then we're scheduling another frame callback to defer it. It's interesting that it says frame callback. This is the wrong one, isn't it? Oh, transient frame callback. I'm thinking of the persistent callback. You could do post frame callback. Oh, I suppose they're doing a chain there. Beginning of the next frame. Sure. Right. Anyway, so if it's not deferred, then we're gonna create a future and load. If it is deferred, then we're not gonna load. All right, restart. Let's try it. Okay, that happened. Why did that happen? I think that happened because I was meant to put this in here. Let me just try this again. Yeah, that'd be why. Yeah. This is because the recommend deferred loading is using inherited widgets, which aren't set up until the first did change appendice is being called. Right. Anyway. So here we go. Ready and set. And so the key point here is I'm going to scroll, and at some point it's going to stop loading, and then when I slow down, it's going to start loading again. So when I scroll back up, there should be a gap. Remember before, when I didn't have this, when I scrolled down, it queued up every future for every item. So let's go.
You're addressing what my question was.
It would do if it hadn't like. Can we have it nullable? Can a feature be nullable in here? I think it can. All right. Let's go again. Try it again. Right. There they are. They're loaded. Scroll. Scroll really, really quickly. Ooh. We are trying to call load on exposed. So that's another thing we have to see in here. If mounted, because of the delay. Post-tile load. And or not mounted. Because the schedule microtask is doing that. Anyway, let's try this again. Try again. Right. Do it again. Scroll. Really, really quickly. Stop there. Now what's going to happen is, hopefully,
uh-oh.
either something didn't work.
It's not doing them sequentially.
Oh, no.
Little bits of them.
Let's go back up.
That's weird.
So it did stop. Or did it? Did I get it backwards? That seemed to have loaded everything, but then I'm not sure. I'm not sure now. Hang on. Let's try that again. Let's try that again.
Yeah.
In fact, why don't we have this? Hang a minute.
Print when it's finally loaded. Debug traces.
Loading widget index. I don't know. Okay. Take our faces off the screen for a second. So there you go. So it's got loading 17. Scroll. That is loading everything.
In theory. But it's not actually loading.
Well, no, it shouldn't have got to that point. If the deferred loading kicked in, it shouldn't get to that point.
So because you're seeing the sequential numbers,
and the reason why it's not updating is because set the future. I'm not doing that set state. That's my. We checked for mounted up here, so this is fine. So this is just going to do exactly what it did before, right? Let's just check that. Scroll. Stop. Yeah. And I scroll back up. It's. Oh no, it worked. That worked.
That worked.
Did it? I'm very confused. No, it can't. No, it can't have done because look, there's groups of them. Oh look, see, there are places where it didn't load them. So, yeah, I can't. Maybe I can't get to the velocity point that it considers. And let's see if I can. It might be because I'm swiping multiple times. Do we actually have any numbers that are skipped here? Doesn't look like it.
You need a nuclear powered mouse to go fast.
No, see, that's really interesting, right? Like, as soon as that loading is hit, we know we're creating our future for 2 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And it's being called for everything. If I scroll back up slowly, they're all filled in, even if I go fast, which means it loaded the future for everything. So our deferred loading for context did not work. I wonder if that's the hang on, maybe that's our. What do you want to reckon? It's like default horizontal or something. I don't know. What is the default for it? Does it care? Oh, if access null, it returns the first one. Well, that's a fail, and I'm very confused by that.
Maybe leave that for next week and have some brilliant idea of how to fix it as soon as we finish the show.
Yeah, it's really bugging me though.
Yeah, but it's pretty. I like the accent colors; those are better.
Well, look, I will
Randall
mention
and the accent.
Ship
I
it.
will mention
Ship it.
that
It's
you.
got good accent colors.
I will mention that you can also do this with what's called notifications, right? So there's actually a notification listener, and you can get what's called a scroll notification.
Yeah.
I won't do this. I'm just going to leave this in here as a placeholder for people at home. Notification. And what you can do in here is you can examine these. You can examine these notification events. Let's see. Let's call it scroll notification here. And just so you can see this in the logs. So now when I scroll, you see that we get a series of events. So we get a, where is it? Start scroll event, an update scroll, user scroll event, which is actually to say that it's now gone into, we're just running in reverse. Then we get our update events, which are each of the events for as the scroll actually takes place. Then we get the end for when it stops. The user scroll event takes it back into idle. You get back into idle. And then in his case, I tapped again, so it started again. I wonder, actually saying that, I just had an idea. Let me comment it out. I wonder if I did one, I was doing like multiple small scrolls. I wonder if it's based on that. So if I do like one big fling. I did it. I think it did it. Let's have a look.
Oh.
It looked like it. Yeah, it skipped. Look. Okay, well, I think we found a bug.
Oh.
So if I scroll back up now, everything above 118 hasn't loaded. There you go, to a gap, up to 20. That was one large fling.
Ah, I've had those before.
Anyway, you're getting trouble. You're getting trouble. You will.
I know.
So that actually worked. I think I think I would call that a bug in Flutter because when you tap and scroll more, if it's already scrolling and you're doing that, you're imparting more inertia to the scroll when it's the final velocity. They're taking the velocity of the last recent scroll event and not the overarching velocity of the scroll.
I'll let you write up that bug.
Oh yeah, produce an example and everything. Right. So talking about which, I'm going to post this right now on Gists, and then everyone can have an example.
And we thank you all for sticking around. For those that have stuck around,
we got more people.
There's gonna be a observable Flutter tomorrow. That's going to be worth watching if you're into the AI stuff. There's going to be our program on Sunday with Norbert doing more vibe coding.
And we might have some even more shows as well.
Yeah, there might be more AI next week and the week after. As much as we can, as much as artificial as we can get it.
Do you have the slide you can still put up?
I do indeed. Let's
This
present
week
that.
sponsored by NutraSweet. Yes, for that artificial sweetness.
Oh, that's not the right
That's
one.
not it.
There we
Something.
go.
There we go. Look at that.
So we want you to fill out the surveys, and then that means that we can then get back to you with content that is going to help you understand AI or work with AI or anything else. That's on the left one,
helps us.
community survey.
Mhm.
And then on the right-hand side is if you want to contribute in some way, right, to our efforts around AI or community efforts around AI. So fill that one out if you want to like feedback or talk on the show or present whatever
Yeah.
you're working on, and we can discuss it. So fill out both, and we can work out where we're going. There will be a website with resources on how to get started with AI, how to build with AI. That's all coming up soon.
And that's also it. I mean, so where Simon was saying, you know, come on the show and do that. If you don't want to do that, but you want to contribute and you've got things you want us to include on the website, please fill out the contributor there also.
Oh yeah. It's not just for coming.
Yeah,
to
you
show,
don't have to come onto it because
No.
some people freak out if they think they're going to be here.
It's all on the form. I will also
Yes.
post the links, the relevant links that we've been doing in the chat. Bear with me.
Unlike other podcasts, we don't force anybody to be on video. I'd be worried about the ones that are. I'm just making that up. I have no idea.
So there's a link there for community, and there's a link there afterwards for the contributor ones. Sorry, I posted them.
Yeah,
there's contributor one.
They're kind of muddied together there.
Yeah, no one did that.
Can you also share the new Flutter forum AI category?
Ah, yes.
And if you missed those discussions about those, please
Rewind.
go back and rewind and go back to the beginning and watch the first hour and continue watching the subsequent 2.5 hours, but definitely rewatch the first hour.
I think I avoided talking about videotapes this time on this show.
You just brought it up.
You just brought it up. File.
No, there was some other program I was on recently. I forget. Steph was there, and I talked about videotapes.
Wasn't that I didn't see the whole thing.
I tell you what I watched recently, which I was really impressed with, which was an very old BBC documentary. I shared this with Steph actually. A really old BBC documentary from 1981 on computer graphics. It's actually really quite cool on what has actually been done in computer graphics, and understanding what's been done in computer graphics over the past, 40 years or whatever.
That's not the Put That There video, is it? Because that's a great one too.
No, I'm going to find it here and post it in the chat for anyone that's interested. Yeah. It is really, I have to say, it's really interesting. It's one of those things where they're talking about.
Simon, somebody's saying, sorry to interrupt. They're saying that the links are broken.
Community link is busted. Oh, no. It's got a space. It's missing the space. Hang on a minute. Just look at the URL. Get rid of contributors at the end. Somehow the space got removed in the chat. Here's the community one. And here's the contributor one as well.
And then I put that there video in there too to watch.
And yeah, if anyone wants something to watch after this, here's that 1981 documentary on computer graphics. It's really interesting, actually. Honestly, like how like where computer graphics initially came from, how it's been used. It's pretty cool. I find it cool. Anyway,
it was before some people's births.
What was out to show? What was out at all example localizations and deferred loading. Deferred scroll loading. I can't remember what it's called. Pardon me. Deferred loading for context. Sure. Deferred loading. Let's just call it that. Right. 23rd of April. That's today. This is the show. And here is the gist.
Cool.
So, I hope everyone enjoyed the show. The links are in the various links that we said, including the gist is in the chat. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to go to our community or contributor survey links. Hopefully, we'll get some nice results and we can make sure that we're getting the content that you want or that you're interested in. Even if you're not interested in AI, fill out the forms. We get to know that you're not interested in AI then, right? To get it all on there.
Yeah, that's very good suggestion. Oops.
Write a bot.
Right.
to fill it up for you.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you same time, same place next week.
Oops.
Bye. Oh, wrong button.